document, so I have reviewed it. There we go. Well, that's the same. Well, then that's the comment. It's a comment.
Isn't that wild?
This is just sort of an. It's really just support letter.
Oh.
Does anybody have the overs and unders on how long we're going to go today?
No. Not yet. Hi, good morning, everybody. Hopefully we'll get started here fairly quick. Are we ready to record? Let me know when we're ready. I think we're just setting up the YouTube channel, so it's ready to go. So we're ready to go on the meeting. Olafu, you ready? Yes, sir. Okay. Welcome everybody to the August 2nd, 2022 City Planning Commission meeting. It's really nice to see everybody here in person as well as those online. We're moving to this format, hopefully moving forward, and hope most of you will visit us in person rather than online. Seems to be more effective that way. That's my opinion. But I also ask for patience as we work through our presentations today. Being back in person as well as virtual, there's some back and forth that we need to be aware of. So it takes a little bit of time. I promise we'll become more efficient as we move forward. So the City Planning Commissioners look forward to hearing your project, and we understand that every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure that we address all of the projects individually with the attention that they need to build consensus between the applicant, the city staff, as well as the public. We also believe that we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. Because our meeting is a hybrid, we continue to have our time limits for the cases that we hear, which is 5 minutes for city staff and their presentation, 20 minutes for the applicant, plus any questions from the commissioners. When we move to public comment, I will call on those folks that are here locally first, and then those that are joining our meeting virtually, but still ask that we limit our comments to 2 minutes when speaking as an individual, or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or a larger group. In all instances, please limit the amount of repetition on comments. I want to continue up reminding everybody that the city is updating a comprehensive plan called the KC Spirit Playbook. It's a great document, and it's a document that's going to serve the city for 20 plus years. So please take a look at that, add your comments to it. There's a lot of information there. We're starting to see draft sections written. So I suggest everybody take a chance to look at it when they can, but you can see it by going online to the website playbook.kcmo.gov. So as we get started, I asked staff to provide us some ground rules, especially those joining us virtually, as we conduct our meeting to make sure that we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So Olafu, can you run through those, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to describe the procedure for this hybrid meeting. First, staff will give a staff report, then the chair will turn it over to the applicant team and associate with the case. Then it will be time for a public testimony. For those online, know that there are 2 categories of people participating in this meeting today. These are attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commissioners, members, and city staff. If you are an applicant or citizen who is interested in a case, use the raise hand function when the chair calls the case to let staff know that you would, and they will promote you to a panelist position. When that promotions happen, you will need to accept that promotion. It will also appear temporarily as if you've been disconnected. Don't panic, you will reconnect shortly. If you are joining us via the app on a phone or a computer, please change your screen name so that you are joining to reflect your legal name. Understand also that if you are calling in with a phone number, you cannot adjust your screen name, and you also will not be able to use the raise hand function in Zoom. At the time of promotion, the chair would like you to turn on your camera and microphone so that the commission can see and hear you. When it is your time to talk, your microphone needs to always be on the mute position unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. Also, a reminder that the chat box is only for the questions about the agenda. Merits of each case should not be discussed in the chat box. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oh, actually, I actually have additional stuff. For those of you in person, please approach the microphone, which is over there, when it is appropriate to give testimony. If you're in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well. Joining meeting in both manners, in person and virtually, causes a lot of unnecessary feedback in the room. So if you're in the room, there's no need to join in Zoom. So that's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Before we get started, I kind of like the commission to introduce themselves, say their name and kind of what they do, and it'd be very quick, please. So Tyler, if you don't mind starting.
Sure. I'm Tyler Enders, and I'm a co-owner of Made in KC, who sells local goods throughout the region.
James Baker. I guess I'm just a community volunteer.
Ashley Sadowski. I'm the director of Building Energy Exchange KC, which works on building decarbonization.
Again, my name's Colby Crowell. I'm with McClure Engineering.
Bruce Ellender with Kiewit Water, Vice President of Sales.
Paul Rojas, retired.
Okay, we've got two other commissioners that aren't able to join us today. One is actually volunteering because of the vote today, so she's working at one of the precincts, and then the other one turned out that she tested positive for COVID this morning, so which is unfortunate. Hopefully we'll get them back at the next meeting. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started then. Olafu, starting with our consent agenda items, beginning with those that will be continued to a future meeting.
Mr. Chairman, docket item number C3, which is case number 2022-0037, Origin Hotel at Berkeley Riverfront. This is a request to approve an MPD final plat for the construction of a hotel in District MPD on about 2.61 acres, generally located at Troost Avenue and Riverfront Road. The recommendation is to continue this case to August 16th without fee. And the reason for this continuance is they filed an amendment to the original, the current approved MPD plan, and that needs to be approved prior to approval of this final MPD plan. The next item to be continued is C5, case number 2022-00116. This is Northview Valley third plat. And this is a request to approve a project plan for Northview third plat, private open space tract on about 2 acres, generally located at the southwest terminal of Colorado and northeastern 90th Street. This is staff's recommendation is to continue this to August 16th, and we are waiting for revised plans to be submitted by the applicant. Those are the two continued cases.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners regarding continuance of docket item C3 or C5? All right, seeing none. Is there anybody from the public that would like to talk about continuance of docket item C3 or C5? Seeing none in the chambers, has anybody online raised their hand?
No one has raised their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion for continuance of those cases, please.
Chair Crowell, I move to continue docket items C3 and C5 to the dates stated on the docket.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second to continue docket items C3 and C5. Lisa, can you take a roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Crowell.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Baker,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for continuance of those two cases to the August 16th meeting. So let's go ahead and open up the remaining consent agenda items, please.
Docket item number C1, this is case number 20220091, Leewood Village. This is a request for approval of a project plan for the expansion of a parking lot on about 2.5 acres located on State Line Road, approximately 200 feet west of Blue Ridge Boulevard. Docket item number C2, case number final plat 20220029. This is Crossroads Apartment. This is a request for a final plat in District UR on about 1 acre, generally located at the northwest corner of West 20th Street and Broadway Boulevard. And both cases are recommended for approval with condition.
And what about C4?
C4 is also recommended for approval, but there's potential for discussion. So I want us.
That's okay. Go ahead and open it up, please.
Okay, docket item number C4 is case number 2022000103, 8116 North Oak Apartment. This is a request for approval of a project plan in District B3-2 to allow for the construction of a multi-family building containing 40 units on about 0.7 acres located at 8116 North Oak. Staff's recommendations for approval subject to conditions also.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners regarding docket items C1, C2, or C4?
I have on C4, I'm just interested, we've had some opposition on the project, and I was also interested there was no community outreach as a part of that as well. So just was wondering from staff, some background around that.
Mr. Chair, Genevieve Karn is the staff planner for C4.
Morning, commissioners. Yes, if there are questions about C4, I can address those. Commissioner Allender, in terms of the public outreach, because this is a project plan on the consent agenda, the formal public engagement process is not a requirement. The applicant is available on Zoom, I believe, to address further questions about outreach that they did on their own.
Okay. Any other questions for the open cases we have? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony then. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak regarding docket items C1, C2, or C4, please approach the front and or raise your hand online through the Zoom feature, and you'll be called upon accordingly.
Morning.
Good morning. Mind stating your name and address for the record, please, in which case you're referring to.
My name is Dave Best. I live at 302 Northeast 81st Street. I'm here to speak on item number C4. Don't have the case number in front of me. It's the 8116 North Oak Apartments. I'm here to voice our concerns with many of my neighbors about this property being built. I'm going to address the traffic and parking problems we are seeing that this structure is built. We understand the parking and design meets ordinances, but it doesn't mean it's not going to negatively impact the neighborhood and nearby businesses. By providing only one space per apartment, any tenant with more than one car or any visitors will have to park on residential streets as there's no parking on North Oak. The other option will be, of course, then parking on the private businesses that are located nearby as well. This adds a burden to homeowners and business owners who will have to become de facto parking monitors to ensure our driveways and mailboxes are not blocked. The spaces for paying customers are not being utilized by the tenants and their visitors. This also violates the spirit of the city's new Vision Zero initiative. I understand this initiative is a drive to eliminate traffic and pedestrian deaths. Again, human nature, visiting these apartments will naturally park at the businesses that are directly across the street from North Oak and inevitably risk their lies running across 4 lanes of traffic to the apartment building. I understand that the Vision Zero is more about traffic signals intersection design, but allowing this type of building and parking design will definitely increase problems and be a high risk for increased traffic and pedestrian accidents. The other issue we've not seen addressed is the 4-story building will block the tornado siren at the fire station next door. The KCMO Emergency Operations Center has told me there's no overlapping coverage of sirens to the north of this site. It means people living to the north and west could be at increased risk if tornado warning is sounded. Please remember, after the building is sold and this builder has moved on and you commissioner members have moved on, we in the future tenants will be having to deal with all these problems. We'll be calling 911 when there's a crash or God forbid someone gets hit. We'll have to buy the no parking signs and the do not block driveway signs and deal with all the conflicts that arise from that. The development should benefit the neighborhood, not just the developers. We'd like to request you please at least require continuance to ensure the tornado siren issue is resolved. The fact that this key matter is not addressed also causes concern that the entire plans might need an additional re-review and just double checking. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else like to speak regarding docket items C1, C2, or C4?
Hi. I am Sarah Bellil, and for 46 years, I've lived in the yellow house behind the fire station. My fence will be the southern border of this property. According to Brinks, the most vulnerable to crime are those with the following key factors: occupancy, convenience, visibility, and accessibility. With that being said, there are 4 stories where people can see entire properties. I live alone for most of the time and spend most of my time out in the backyard, either gardening or swimming, which means I'd be a very easy target. I have concerns with parties, drinking parties, those who want to just jump the fence to have some fun. Some high school kids who don't have any respect for the police and will come and go as they want. I have concerns about just plain people. They just want to get away, have some fun, because there's nothing by these apartments for them to escape to. I also have concerns about parents who say, go ahead, use their pool. They're not home. They don't care. And we'll watch you from here. And there's the kids who are going to jump off the wall into the pool. The pool is 5 feet deep. Any one of those children that dive head first will definitely be injured or killed. And because it is on my property, I will be liable. The closest police station is at Tiffany Springs, which is about 8 miles from our house. There will be a substantial rise in 911 calls with traffic and vandalism and home invasions. All these events will happen recurrently. We have invested in our property to keep it updated as we get older. We've done solar panels, roofing, we've done interior modeling, so on, to make it more accessible. With all this being involved, we aren't going to be able to ever recoup our money into this if we have to. We have visited with engineers, and they said just the construction of the building itself, with the heavy trucks, the pounding, and so on, that it will jeopardize our foundations and our pool will collapse. Even though our property is fenced off, and it says signs with saying no trespassing, the homeowners are held liable for the injuries that are caused on the property. At this point, we have been advised by our insurance company that our premiums will go up $300 to $700 per year. with no fault of our own. It's just the fact that there's going to be more people trespassing against our property. I don't want this. My neighborhood doesn't want this. There is no good that will happen from this building. People who live there will be angry and frustrated because there's no space for them. There's no space for their children. There's no space even for their dogs. There's no place for their cars. They're going to be angry. They don't want to be there. And I don't want to wake up to someone being hurt, floating in my pool, or being invaded. Just because all the boxes have been marked off, this is not right. It is not moral. This council seals my fate. The quality of life that I have worked so hard for all these years, or a life of fear and destruction and watching my dreams crumble. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Come on ahead. Don't be shy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jan Byrne. I've lived at 215 Northeast 81st Street for 35 years. And I want to say we're not opposed to building on this small piece of land by our neighborhoods, but due to the height, the size, and proximity of the proposed apartment complex and our homes, we are against this project moving forward. Construction this size is not consistent nor compatible with our neighborhood. Traffic, parking, water runoff, and privacy are the most important things, of course, but we have a few other small concerns that I want to address. Noise, trash, green space, and quality of life. Noise. An apartment complex can be very busy, disrupting the peaceful environment of the neighborhood. There will be more noise, music, car alarms, workers, trash trucks, service vehicles, and increased traffic from moving and parking cars in a small cramped parking lot. There'll also be loud noise from construction equipment during the months of building. Lights from the parking lot and car headlights will be shining into neighbors' houses. Trash from 40 apartments could be too much for a couple dumpsters to handle, causing overflow of waste to pile outside the dumpsters and possibly in the neighborhood yards due to the close location of our homes. Tenants moving in and out, leaving boxes, furniture, mattresses, etc., are creating an unacceptable situation for the neighborhood. We have a lot of wildlife around there. Hopefully it'll stay, but the wildlife may be getting into the dumpsters as well. It appears that there's no community space, recreation area, or usable open space for apartment dwellers and their children to relax and play. The developer has been allowed to pay extra funds instead of providing parkland dedication for the apartments. This doesn't benefit the apartments, and we are concerned that they'll be using our properties and community for their playground and recreation area without the permission of our residents. Nearby businesses are also concerned tenants using their location to hang out, since there's nowhere else for them to hang out. This corporation is planning to build in a very limited space and our backyards with total disregard to how it will impact the neighboring community. Many that live in apartments don't rent long-term, causing constant turnover of tenants and presence of moving trucks. The residential character of the neighborhood and its desirability will be threatened. This out-of-state company may be building here to take advantage of the attractive surroundings created by the residents that have made this their home for years and years. This is a beautiful tree-filled, quiet, safe neighborhood that will surely change if this construction is approved. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Diane Mills. I've lived at 104 Northeast 81st Street for 29 years. And nobody wants an out-of-town developer coming into their neighborhood, squeezing a 44-unit apartment complex with 40 parking spaces. Period. Nobody wants that in their neighborhood. If there are 2 to 3 people per unit, where are the other cars going to park? Our street is narrow enough. Our fire department uses our street all the time because of the traffic on North Oak and Berry Road. So if we have cars parked on both sides, how's a fire truck or the ambulance and a school bus going to be able to get through? There are plenty of other properties on North Oak that are for sale that they can move this unit to. We have nothing to gain from this and everything to lose in our neighborhood. The increased traffic, the flooding, the ponding issues. I had an architect look over these drawings. He's very concerned with the ponding and the flooding of the slope of the design. He said it should never pass code. So there's, like I said, there's other places on North Oak, North Kansas City. There's other places that they can put this apartment complex. There should have to be enough parking spaces for the units. And what do we do when vehicles are parked on our street that break down? Are we responsible for moving them at our expense? Who's responsible for the increased crime in our neighborhood? We have a very quiet, nice, safe neighborhood. We would like to keep it that way. Like I said, we have nothing to gain by this unit going squeezed in between the fire station and the Jiffy Lube. And the siren from the fire department is going to be blocked from how tall the apartment building is going to be. What happens when they can't, the people past that up North Oak, up towards Nashua area, don't get our sirens because that is the only one that we have in our neighborhood. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Thomas Belil. I'd like to thank the committee this morning for hearing our concerns, myself and my neighbors, about the property being proposed at 8116 North Oak. I've lived and paid taxes at Jefferson Highlands for more than 30 years. I'd also just like to reiterate the bullet points of our concerns for our community. Our biggest concern is going to be the water runoff that from an area that's all blacktop. Right now, this area is grass and woods, and the water doesn't just shoot out. But I guarantee you, if this area is all blacktop and concrete, it's going to flood the neighboring houses. Our second concern is going to be traffic and parking. There's only going to be 40 parking spaces at the apartment complex that has 40 units. There will be more cars than parking spaces, increasing cars parking in business parking lots and on our streets, which will heavily increase the amount of traffic on our street. Next is privacy and safety of our residents. There will be literally no privacy as this apartment complex looms over our backyard 4 stories high. That's twice as high as the fire department and higher than the tornado siren. Safety is a huge factor for every one of us, knowing that our nearest police department is at Tiffany Springs. Noise pollution. We have all learned to get used to the fire department and even the tornado siren, plus the noise from North Oak Trafficway. But going forward, we're going to be faced with a whole new dilemma when it comes to the noise from construction itself, cars roaring in and out of the parking lot, horns honking all day and night, car alarms, garbage trucks, dump trucks, and heavy equipment. The light pollution. Light pollution, the fact of the matter is that the front of our house is already lit up from the mini mall across the street. Now the back of our house will be lit up from parking lot lights as well as headlights pulling in and out of parking spaces that face our home. Lastly, how can this apartment complex be built with no green space? Where will residents take their pets? Where will kids play? I'm going to tell you, those pets are going to be going to the bathroom in our yards. Okay? Kids are going to be running in our yards, up and down our streets. And I don't want to be the one to hit a kid with my car because they jet out. I really don't. I'd like this committee to understand that while our neighborhood is not against progress, we're not. Everyone in our neighborhood believes that this is too big of a project to be placed on that spot. Now it's up to you to decide whether this building is the best use of land for such a small area of our neighborhood. Thank you for hearing me this morning.
Thank you. Anybody else like to provide testimony? If there are others, feel free to come on up and wait in the aisle if you don't mind.
Hi, my name's Kendall Mills. I live at 104 Northeast 81st Street and have for close to 30 years now. I've walked those streets almost every morning for 25 years now. So I've seen so much traffic violations and issues surrounding around the fire station, from even the firemen having limited places to park to go into the fire station to work, that they sometimes block the road. We've had fire trucks come part of the way up the road and had to stop and back up because they could not get through, which affects response time to members that need it, to neighborhoods that need that. If they go forth with this, there will be issues with traffic and wrecks. And I'm sure it'll be a limited amount of time before we have our first major wreck there causing fatalities. What happens is the fire truck quite often parks out in front of the station, like to wash the vehicle. When doing so, you have less than 20 feet visibility of what's coming down North Oak if you're setting at 81st Street. I too have almost been hit several times trying to approach up to see if traffic's coming, thinking I have an opening in traffic and try to pull out and hear screeching tires because, I mean, literally, you're right there. If you have people coming out from this apartment building, there will not be time to react. There will be somebody get T-boned at that area. There's no traffic light there. If you're in that area anytime after between Thanksgiving and Christmas, there is so much traffic on North Oak. I've timed it. I've waited at that to get out on North Oak as long as 15 minutes to try to find a break in traffic to get out. Most of all of our residents know if you have to get out and need to get out quickly, you have to go up to Main and go down Main to Berry Road where there's a traffic light so you can get out. That's quite often why the fire truck does use that route, because during a holiday, they cannot guarantee to get through North Oak and Berry Road because of the amount of traffic. So they come and cut down 81st Street to get over to Main or service any areas behind there. So this will be a major issue and will cause accidents because of the added traffic. Again, not opposed to progress in that area, just the right type of progress. This will affect wildlife. I have a 1 acre yard and I can provide even pictures of the amount of wildlife that we have in the backyards. I've counted as many as 11 and 12 deer, even in the backyards. And they reside from that wooded area back through and across 81st Street to a city park or not city park, but a city development that's all wildlife behind there. And that will drastically affect the safety of those. There's only been one deer hit that I can recall within the last year and a half at that location. With this development, I can assure you there will be more traffic accidents and wildlife related accidents in that area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Okay, is there anybody online that's raised their hand that would also like to speak regarding docket item C1, C2, or C4?
Mr. Chair, Mike from Sumatera, he is the applicant. He is on first.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for having us. I would like to apologize and start out by saying I asked multiple times if I could attend this meeting in person and would have preferred to do so, and was told that this would only be an online meeting. So please forgive me. Our presence in person would have been preferred, and we were prepared to make that happen. Would this be an appropriate time for me to do my presentation on our application, or would you like me to wait on that?
Yeah, I think it's probably a fair time to go ahead and make some comments on some of the issues brought up, and I'm sure I'd like to check with city staff on some of the issues as well.
Very good. Thank you. So I wanted to tell you just briefly about our company. My name is Mike Watson. I'm the CEO of Sumatera Ventures. We take these very seriously, these types of projects very seriously. And in fact, before looking in Kansas City for properties or putting anything under contract in the area, we flew out most of our senior staff and met with the city planning department and the EDC and other members and city officials and told them our business strategy, asked them which zones these types of projects would be allowed in, asked them which zones they would be preferred in, and met with them in person and had a wonderful meeting, took wonderful notes back. Our office and our business is the practice of what we call the path of least resistance. You'll notice in our application today, there are no efforts on our part for variances, zone changes, cutting corners, or making exceptions. We believe in following the law. This is a law, the zoning law that's in place, the codes and ordinances. And our submission today meets every single requirement that has been put in front of us and is allowed under the B32 code that was put in by the city council 11 years ago. And I would add that this property was zoned commercially in 1986 and has been this way for many decades. We have not skirted any of the issues. And I wanted to also give you some other information about what we do and some of the things that we have here. So in addition to this use is allowed by code, and it is perfect in its submission or will be at the time of approval. We intend to keep this property long-term. It has been suggested that we're out-of-towners looking to capitalize on your city. Nothing could be further from the truth. I have personally lived in Kansas City no later than 2015 and loved it, and always promised myself I'd come back and be a long-term addition to the benefits of the city there. We intend to keep this building and own it for a long time. On the subject of us not corresponding or reaching out to the neighbors, nothing could be further from the truth on that. It's my belief that these neighbors know about this only because we've reached out to them. Unlike many developers, we went and flyered the neighborhood. We printed a letter with our contact information in it, gave the neighbors notice months ago that this project was being put in motion, and with our contact information, email, and phone number, asked for any input from the neighborhood as they saw fit. One neighbor to the north, the animal doctor at the veterinary hospital, reached out to us. We met with him several times, and in a neighborly way, we acquiesced to every single thing that he asked for. We talked to the neighbor to the south when he called us and said he was interested in selling his property. And we have since made an offer to purchase his property. We engaged him and spoke with him. We heard that there might be concern with the HOA across the street. We proactively reached out to them and personally discussed with them any options or concerns that they might have, and they had none. There were no concerns there. We have not heard from a single other neighbor that we flyered and put our contact information on, and have been receptive and waiting for that. So we are very, very open and communicative and want to be a great long-term neighbor here. Next, we have met with the neighbor to the north, as I mentioned. We have spoken to the neighbor to the south. We reached out to the HOA. We meet all city codes, zoning, and ordinances. I would like to reinstate or resubmit that this is not a residential lot. North Oak, according to some of the figures we've seen, has a traffic count as high as 50,000 cars a day. This is not going to impact this in any way. Those of you that know that this was established and the parking, for example, was established, the use was established by the city council because of the number of trips that a project like ours would generate would be an infinitesimally small blip on the map of the traffic that exists already on North Oak. We have agreed to do additional screening to the neighbors to the south. They asked Genevieve for us to do additional screening. She came to us and asked if we would do that, and we agreed immediately to do so. We are really surprised that this would be called a natural habitat or a nature preserve. I have been there many times and have never seen a wild animal on this cut piece of lawn that fronts this major thoroughfare that sits between a fire station and a veterinary hospital. In speaking with the owner, one of the other concerns that we have, in speaking with the owner, Mr. Chuck Poisner, who's on here today, I have a letter from him. He is not sure he'll be able to operate a Zoom call. He's never been on one before. He would like to speak, but I do have a letter from him if you'd like to hear it. But he has never seen a wild animal on this lot either in the over 20 years that he has owned this property, other than a bird that may have landed in the tree. So this is not a part of a residential neighborhood. This is part of a robust, aggressive, and thorough commercial corridor. Another thing that I've heard multiple times is crime. There are no crime issues here. That is shocking to me. We looked up on the US Census Bureau, and the median household income for Kansas City in that north area is $56,000. For someone to qualify financially for one of our apartments under regular qualifying standards, they must make a median household income of $60,000, which means the income of those that live in our apartments would be equal to or greater than the surrounding area. And the suggestion that there might be crime is, I believe, unfounded and not fair. We are a for-market project. We do not have housing. We do not have subsidies. We do not use Section 8. There are no tax requirements or anything like this. This is a for-market housing complex that will have wonderful, wonderful people that need a place to live, just like our wonderful neighbors need and deserve a place to live. We're putting in a full system to handle any surface water with the detention facilities that we have. All of these things have been reviewed thoroughly by the staff, who are very capable, very, very forward-thinking people. This has and will be approved by those folks. There will be no runoff water. We anticipate no runoff water. And were there any runoff water, I'm publicly stating on the record, we will get in and do whatever it takes to fix that, and have no fears that that would be the case. So again, the parking ratios have been established by city codes and ordinances, and those were not just plucked out of the air. These were done by traffic impact analysis, traffic studies, and all kinds of valuable information that has been culled. This is a perfect submission based on the law. We are a nation of laws, and the law here allows for this type of use with these codes, covenants, and restrictions. We run a vibrant, thriving, and happy community with our company, and would love to be a valued member of this area for many years to come. Lastly, I would state that there is a high need for housing. There are news outlets and articles that state that up to 4.3 million apartments will be needed by the year 2035. And we want to provide wonderful workforce housing. Single parents, police officers, teachers, these are the types of young professionals. These are the type of people that rent our apartments from us and will be valued members of the communities and impact that positively. Lastly, I'd like to ask if the City Planning Commission would like me to read Mr. Poisner's letter, or would you prefer to attempt to hear it from him? I know he's on the call, but he's concerned that he'll be able to access the meeting to speak.
Was that letter included in our packet by chance?
I just received it by text about 20 minutes ago.
Just give us the highlights and that'll be sufficient. You don't need to read it word for word.
Okay, so his thought process was he's owned this for 22 years. And one of the things that I wanted to make mention of that he said to me was none of the neighbors were interested in purchasing the lot. This lot has been for sale off and on for 22 years. And he recently, or not recently, but he had a project approved, which was, he said, a mini strip mall that would have he had approved a cellular telephone place, his car stereo place, and a tattoo parlor. in 3 buildings, 3 office or parts of a strip center, and suggested that that would provide far more traffic, that would feed far more into the concerns of the neighbors, far more trash, and that this would be our use, would be a better use with better people and higher income. So he is certainly for our project. He has personally never seen an animal on this lot, as I mentioned, and he said this is the busiest one of the busiest thoroughfares in the metropolitan area. And any other use that would come in here would be far worse, in his opinion, than an apartment complex.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Virtual?
Carrie Burke, you are next.
Hello, this is Carrie Burke.
Hi, Carrie. Please, are you also calling about docket item C4?
I am.
Okay.
Yes, I'm the homeowner at 224 Northeast 81st Street in Kansas City, Missouri. My short presentation covers mainly water issues, our creek, and safety concerns. The volume of stormwater generated by this project, preventing the natural movement of water into the water table, would be in excess of 40,000 gallons with just a 2-inch rain. The creek running beside my home at the base of the westward topographical incline known as the East Fork is already at capacity during storms, increasing the existing flow of stormwater as planned in this project's suggested easements, which are in their own diagrams, would place my home at serious peril of flooding. I will not agree to any easements to move project stormwater across my property into the creek. Such easements would certainly also precipitate damage to the property of my neighbor Jan Byrne across the street at 215 Northeast 81st Street, immediately downstream from my home. Wedging 40 families within this scarcely 3/4 acre lot with their water pressure, sanitary sewer, and stormwater requirements in an older neighborhood with existing water infrastructure nearing capacity is totally impractical and wrong-headed. Add to this scenario that there is a busy fire station immediately adjacent to this lot that will be decidedly impeded in the public safety's duties added by traffic congestion and its ability to warn the public of natural emergencies with its public emergency siren to be crowded behind a 4-story structure, preventing citizens north of that line from hearing the alarms. And you have an unarguable formula for disaster for all concerned, including the project's investors. In response to the verbiage about no wildlife, we have so much wildlife. We have deer in the yard constantly, raccoons, squirrels, possums, badgers. The westernmost piece of this land is currently all treed and is the home of these wild animals. This portion of the property is going to be cleared per their diagrams. And where are these animals to go? We have dozens of deer around here, as has been said. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else? Online?
TJ Smith, you're next.
I'm sorry, can you say the name again?
TJ Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Council, for this time. I'm a owner of a company that provides energy efficiency products and insulation to commercial projects, multifamily and residential homes. I've walked this site multiple times. And from a contractor's perspective, this actually is a textbook example of how these projects come about. As you can see up and down North Oak, the way that it is designed by the council and most organizations that I've seen around the nation is that commercial / multifamily is a buffer zone between that and residential homes. So this is a perfect example of what this use is and why it should be utilized in this manner to provide a sound buffer between a much busy, utilized thoroughfare and residential homes so that it's not a noise ordinance. It's also a perfect example of how this should be developed in terms of it was an agricultural lot or poised as an agricultural lot as it had a radish farm on it so that the taxes wouldn't have to be paid in a commercial manner. So when we look at these type of properties, I've seen multiple sites and worked on multiple sites all across the nation. And this fits a textbook example of where this type of property should be. I'm not going to be the provider of those type of products on this example because they're going to be using a local contractor for this. But it's a great example of how this property should be utilized and provide a buffer for those residential homes. Thank you.
I'm not really sure what your purpose of the call. I mean, are you for the project or against it? I'm not really sure.
I apologize. I am for the project because it fits the code and ordinances that you've set out.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Chuck Poisner, he is on the line, but as Mike mentioned, he kind of spoke for him in his letter. I don't know if Chuck has anything additional to say, but after Chuck, that is it.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, this land was always going to have a project that required a parking lot, and water issues would have always had to have been addressed in a past code. You know, the wildlife, you know, that would have gone at any time there was a commercial venture there. You know, I understand this is a growing pain for the neighborhood, and I appreciate that. But even had my original project been there all these years, there would have been a parking lot there. The animals would have all been disappeared like any other commercial property on North Oak. And again, like, cause I feel bad for the neighborhoods people because they feel bad. You know, if I had my original plans there with the car stereo store and brought my tenants with me, even if I did it now, and it was already approved 20 years ago to build that store. You know, having people there constantly, you know, far more traffic patterns with business like I have than people occasionally pull out. So I think it's actually a lot less busy on the traffic side. I assume that the issues with the parking meet code and that all the water runoff issues are being met. With having said that, like I say, as far as the neighborhood, I feel bad, but you know, it is a growing pain, but there can be far worse things. Thank you.
All right, Chuck.
Yes.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, full name is Charles Poisner. Address at the home address is 12605 West 126th Street, Overland Park, Kansas 66213.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
That is it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to close all public testimony, but probably will reserve opportunity to talk to the applicant as needed, because there's several items here I think that we may need to address and talk through just to make sure we're all on the same page. And the biggest ones I heard were traffic concerns, stormwater, parking, and the tornado siren, and then maybe some of the lighting and of course the lack of green space. Let's start with the traffic. Mr. Bryan, with you, good seeing you in person.
Yes, good morning. Jeff Bryan with Public Works. Yes, so with 40 units, a traffic impact study was not required for this project. So don't really have much to say. I mean, if I don't have the manuals with me, if I had make a guess right now, I would say that 40 apartment units would generate probably around 20 trips is what it's usually about a half. So
20 trips per hour day.
so in the peak hours with 20 trips in the morning peak hour, 20 trips in the afternoon.
Okay, so the peak hour. And then the actual access to North Oak seems to be adequate as well.
Correct. Yeah. If I recall correctly, they were going to use the existing driveway up to that's just to the north of the site.
Okay. All right. The next one is stormwater management. This one is just looking at the plan. I have a concern about that. Maybe the applicant can help on that. So it looks like there's storm detention that's going to be placed right in front of the retaining walls that are over 8 foot tall. Is that correct?
No, there are no 8-foot retaining walls, but there will be an underground detention facility. There will not be any request by our company to traverse anyone's lot or to enter any water into the stream. But the size system that we have drawn is more than sufficient to handle the impervious rooftop and blacktop area along with any sidewalks. It is more than adequate, has been reviewed and approved by our engineers, has been reviewed and approved by staff, and reviewed and approved by the city engineers. And
has a micro stormwater study been submitted yet?
No, I don't believe that was requested of us. We use the 100-year water requirements, 100-year rainstorm requirements to my knowledge, and our system meets the 100-year storm requirements that are on records.
So right now, the intent is the water that's generated from the building in the parking lot travels to the west and flows through a pervious pavement into some.
There's an underground detention facility that will be built in that the water will percolate into the ground over time.
And where does that go? After it goes through that cistern or storage system, where does it go from there to discharge?
It will just percolate into the ground, Commissioner.
So you don't have any discharge from the site?
It's a large facility. That's right. It will handle our water and retain our water until it percolates into the ground.
And then if that's saturated or over, where's the overflow for that go?
We have to have an excess of 100-year storm, and we don't anticipate having an excess of 100-year storm. But if that was the case, there would be water on every lot up and down the street, not just ours.
Okay, but it's got to cross some property to get off your site to get to the street.
Yes, if there was a torrential hurricane with torrential waters that exceeded a 100-year storm, then there would be problems for every lot there.
Plenty of those here the last 6 months, so.
Chair Corral, I think,
Yeah.
Condition number 13 requires a macro storm drainage study.
Okay. I just asked that whoever's doing the study find a way to get the water towards North Oak versus to the southwest corner where it goes over other people's property. Other comments that commissioners have on this?
Will tenants be allowed to have dogs?
We haven't decided yet. Have not decided. My anticipation is that yes, some of them will have pets. Small animals will be allowed, but we have not made that decision yet.
And what would the plan be for where the dogs would go to the bathroom?
Just in the grass in the back corner.
Don't have any.
Oh, yeah, how big was that?
And if it's a concern for you, we can make a commitment not to have any pets in the building. That's not a problem for us.
I just wanted to, if you could elaborate a little bit on that south, or maybe all the adjacent area parking lot, what that looks like. I know there's a retaining, I'm not quite sure, how high that was, if there was additional landscape screening or anything like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that question. Could you repeat it, please?
Sure. Is there additional landscape screening above the retaining wall, or if you could just give us a better idea in elevation what we're seeing on the edges of the parking lot?
Genevieve Cohn approached us and asked us if we would be considerate enough of the neighbors to the south and put in additional screening, which would include trees that could grow to 20 feet in height. we immediately agreed to that and have added that screening into our plan and our landscape plan. That will be a part of that. And we do have a 6-foot site obscuring fence there, and do anticipate that that would retain any people on our side, of course, but we do and have agreed to additional screening on that southwest corner.
Sorry, you said there was a 6-foot fence along that south.
There is a fence that runs along the house to the south and a fence that runs along the house to the west, the property boundary to the west. That is correct. These are not open
As
property.
you're listening, on page 21 of the staff report, it calls out junipers that grow to 20 feet in height along the west side and the south side of the back of the property.
I mean, to me, that alleviates some of the concerns around people trespassing past that point. If we're talking about dense landscaping, fencing, all of that. I had a question about, there was concern of people crossing the main thoroughfare from the retail space across the street over to the apartments. It looks like there is a crosswalk signal, but it looks like it's purposely there for the fire department. I wondered if there was an opportunity, and this is maybe a staff question, to make that a crosswalk, make that an easier path.
Yes, this is Jeff Byrne with Public Works again. So yeah, depending on the number of pedestrians trying to make the crossing, we could certainly do a study if we do see a need for, some enhanced crossing at that location.
That seemed like an easy fix. I also wondered if staff could comment on the bus traffic on this area, if there's rapid transit. Does anybody?
And I don't have that information in front of me.
There is a
Sorry.
bus line. Goes.
There's a stop right there to the south at the parking lot there's a bus stop right there.
Okay. Well, my question.
I would have a question just to the applicant on how many people actually did you talk to? We haven't got a list because there wasn't an official community outreach. And I would just try to get an understanding from yourself on how many neighbours did you talk to about the project?
Well, I'm not clear what you mean by an official community outreach. We flyered, I would guess, at least 50 or 60 homes in the neighborhood. We did talk to several of the neighbors as we were taking flyers to the homes. So I'm not sure what you mean by an outreach, but we certainly did an outreach. And again, I'd like to restate, my belief is that these people know that this is here because of us and our effort to reach out to them. So we did our own version of a community outreach. We spoke multiple times with the veterinary doctor on the north. We've spoken multiple times to the homeowner to the south. We've spoken to the homeowners association across the street. And we've sent emails to the homeowner to the south and the homeowner to the southwest of the property, and have been willing and available via the communication that we gave to the neighbors through this entire process, and have stated that to the planning staff. Genevieve was kind enough to let us know there's some concerned neighbors. We iterated to her that they could reach out to us at any time and we would receive their phone calls. And there was a large silence from the neighbors, despite them having our contact information for months and months.
Well, my question is, usually in an official community outreach, we have a list of people that have attended meetings and so forth. We don't know who you've actually spoken to. We haven't got any letters of support from the homeowners association at all. So at this point in time, we're just taking your testimony that you've reached out, and we've had no other letters of support at all from the community. So that was the reason for my question.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, so it looks like we got 3 items open. Maybe we'll take a motion on docket item C1 and C2 first, and then go to C4 after that. Maybe have a little internal discussion on C4 before we make a motion on that. So
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket items C1 and C2 with conditions.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items C1 and C2. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Yes, Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Anders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for approval of docket items C1 and C2. Now C4, again, we'll just speak. Go ahead.
Chairman, before we vote on C4, I want Sarah to clarify, because in Genevieve's testimony, she did say that the public engagement is not required for project plan. So I thought we were trying to say that he did not do one. He's not required to have one. So his outreach was voluntary.
Okay. All right, so with that, we'll close all testimony then and speak amongst the commission for docket item C4. I guess I can start on this one. This is a tough case. I understand the apartment complex. It's North Oak that's got a lot of business, retail, mixed use on there. So it could be a much different type of facility that could be located there that would be much more impactful on the neighborhood and the surrounding area. So I'm okay with the apartment complex. I just want to make sure that there is some kind of green space as part of this project. And also they work the stormwater management. I know they haven't gone through their full reporting yet, but it does provide management that keeps it out of the neighborhood and pushes it over more towards North Oak. That's just my thought on that. The project does meet the current zoning. The parking is meeting the requirements. So that's why my hesitation is for approval of the project, because it meets all the regulations we have. Do I like it? Not really. But that's where we're at.
My main concern is the community pushback on the project. If applicant has gone to the housing association, why haven't we seen a letter of support from them and so forth? There's a number of people have come down today to essentially push back on the project. So I'm really on the fence on really is this something the neighbourhood wants and will accept in that area. And I am concerned about the green space. I won't go into the stormwater, but I am concerned about the lack of green space and the parking. I can see that may be an issue. So I'm probably a no on this one.
Yeah, you probably didn't get any letters of support. They all were letters not in support of the project, and which is what they're reiterating again today from their testimony.
Yep.
I'm going to be in favor of the project. I think they've met all the requirements, and I think we've been pretty consistent for the most part on if you meet the requirements, and there's really no legal change to the zoning or code or variances. I think it's hard to deny that. I think on a bigger scale, I think this type of development, while not perfect by any means, is kind of where we need to go in terms of housing, in terms of climate, in terms of transportation. And I think North Oak, I think Truman, I think Truce, Prospect, even over in Johnson County, I think Metcalf are all going to be corridors of housing and not strip malls in the future. So is this a perfect project? No. I think they met the requirements and they're doing a lot to alleviate both the screening and hopefully the stormwater will be working through staff. But I'm gonna be in favor of voting for it.
I think I'm in favor of it. Just I get the concerns, but I also think there's a lot of things that have been mitigated with the privacy concerns, the noise concerns, just sort of the visual barrier between the adjacent neighbors. This is a pretty low density, almost rural environment. And I appreciate the wildlife comments. And I think that there is a pretty densely forest area adjacent to the site, even if it's not directly on the site. But I think that this has been a commercial corridor for many years, and the properties surrounding it knew that when it was purchased. Everything about the property value had assessed that there would be some kind of commercial tenant coming in. And I think multifamily is probably one of your best options when it comes to a commercial corridor. It's going to be a quieter use. So.
Yep, I would agree with that. I appreciate the input from the neighbors. This is the type of neighborhood I would want to live in. I understand that you have very large lots and that they all back up to each other to create a great green space. I often think of these things in terms of opportunity cost and what else might be there if not for this project. And at 20 trips per day or 20 trips per hour during peak, there are a lot of uses. A coffee shop, which might seem like the perfect use for a residential area, would provide more traffic than that. And so I think that although, it's, I think the height is maybe something that might be concerning for people who spend a lot of time in their backyards. I do think that there are potential uses that would also be, that would fit all the codes and ordinances and zoning that would actually be less desirable than this one. And so for that, I'm going to support this as well.
I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to approve C4 with conditions as stated in the docket.
I kind of like to amend that just to make sure that we take a look at the stormwater and see if we can direct it to the public right of way as best as possible.
Sure. I'll amend it to include a study of the stormwater with a effort to direct any overflow towards North Oak Trafficway.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item C4 with the intent to, with the stormwater management, to direct it towards public right of way. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Just making a note. Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
No.
Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 4-2. Thanks again for coming in and on all your concerns. Okay, with that, Olafu, let's move to our regular agenda items. Please, beginning with those that we're looking to postpone to a future date.
People are really mad, walking across our property.
It doesn't matter. They've made their decision. Let's go.
Continuance, and I'll try to also give you the reasoning for continuance as we have so many of them. The first one is docket item number 1, and this is a companion case, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. This is Weatherby Lake Meadows, and the case number is 2022-00106. That's a request for an amendment to the KCI area plan, asking for a change in land use from agricultural, residential, and open space to residential medium on about 40 acres, generally located at the southeast corner of Northwest Berry Road and North Childress. And the request for all 3 companion cases will be to August 16. And the reason for this continuances will be to further discuss the project with staff and the applicant. The second case, 1.2, is case number 2022-00-104. And this is a request for approval of a development plan creating 138 lots on 40 acres at the same location. The third companion case is case number 2022-00105. And that's a request to approve a rezoning from AGR to District R5 on the same 40 acres at the same location. All three cases will be continued to August 16th without fee. The next continuance is docket item number 5, and that's Beacon Hill. That's a request to approve an amendment to a previously approved development plan in District UR on approximately 95 acres. And this is bordered on the north by 22nd Street and Bruce Watkins Drive on the east, and Troost Avenue on the west, and 27th Street on the south. Staff's recommendation is for continuance to September 6th without fee, and this has to allow for neighborhood engagement also. The next continuance is docket item number 7. This is Harlem Flex, case number 2022-000111. This is a request for approval of a development plan on about 0.6 acres located at northwest corner of North Grand Avenue and Northwest Harlem Road. Staff's recommendation is for continuance to August 16th without fee, and this is to allow the applicant to attend the Transportation and Development Committee next Monday. Next continuance is docket item number 8. This is a Rainy and Oats STR, which is a special use permit. Case number 2022-00028. This is a request for approval of a special use permit to allow for an STR in District R2.5 on about 0.1 acre located at 3033 East 59th Street. Staff's recommendation is for continuance to August 16, and this is to allow for public engagement to occur. Next continuance is docket item number 11, pouch rezoning. This is case number 2022-00114. This is a request to approve a rezoning without a plan on about 2.17 acres in District R1.5 located at 5220 Troost Avenue. Staff's recommendations continuance without fee to August 16th, and this is also to allow them to have a public engagement. The final one is docket item number 12. This is Parkway Plaza, case number 2022-00082. This is a request to approve an amendment to a previously approved UR to serve as a preliminary plat, creating 9 lots and 2 tracks to allow for a change to the approved plan, allowing for 115,000 square foot of mixed use commercial development on about 22 acres, bordered on the north by 82nd Street, on the south by Maplewoods Parkway, North Antioch on the east, and North Agnes on the west. Staff's recommendation is for approval to August 16th, and the reason for this is to continue to work with the applicant on the overall site plan. Those are the continued cases, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I just wanted to check because I had a note sent to me that docket item 4 and docket item 6 were also going to be continued. Is that not the case?
No, docket item number 4 says approval with condition, so.
Okay.
That's going forward, and docket item number 6 going forward. If Najma is on the line, I want to verify that that's
okay. So the note I received is not correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we are going to hear docket items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3.
Who are you getting your information from?
That is correct.
Go. Okay, so we're looking for continuance of docket items 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 5, 7, 8, 11, and 12. Any questions from the commission on continuance of those docket items?
2.
Sorry, 2 also?
Yeah, that's what I've got on my docket.
Okay, I'm still going off my bad notes.
Oh, I may have not read 2, so.
Okay.
That's correct. I did not.
Any
I can read
questions
2. Let me
from
read
the
2.
commission?
I did not read 2. I'm sorry. I
Oh,
just
okay.
skipped through.
Yeah,
So
read
I
number
need
2,
to read
please.
2. Docket item number 2, it's case number SUP 20220011. This is a real estate law firm STR. This is a request to approve a special use permit to allow short-term rental operation on about 0.12 acres located at 120 East 97th Street. Staff's recommendations for approval. No, continuous without fee to August 16, and this is to allow further review by staff.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners on continuance of these docket items? Okay, is there anybody out there from the public that would like to speak regarding continuance of docket items 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2, 5, 7, 8, 11, or 12? Seeing nobody from the chambers, is there anybody online?
Mr. Chair, Jessica Dressler is first.
Okay,
Hi, I would like to oppose Cardinal Crest trying to rezone from single family use to put those huge apartments on there.
I'm sorry, can you tell me what case you're speaking of, please? And state your name and address for the record.
Jessica Dressler, 2542 Tracy Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64108. And I'm talking about I didn't hear the number, but it's Beacon Hill.
I think it's docket item number 5, and it's one that we're looking to continue to
Yes.
September 6th.
Yes, I'm opposed to your continuance. They have not reached out to engage the community in any way. I'm also opposed to the rezoning wholly and completely, but I've already written a letter to you about that. But they've not followed the rules. You just approved one. You said they followed the rules. They get to move on. This company has not followed the rules. There's been no community engagement.
Yeah, that's why we're looking to continue that case so they can have that community engagement prior to coming back to the planning commission in September.
They've never tried to engage the community, nor will they continue to. They're just trying to push you forward.
Well, in that case,
yeah, you can move on. You've heard my piece, but yeah, absolutely oppose all of it.
Okay,
thank you. That helps in any way. Thanks.
I just wanted to make a comment that whenever community engagement is required, we really have, I think we mentioned this before, we've never approved a case without community engagement happening first when it's required. So
that is tremendously appreciated. Thank you so much for clarifying and stating that.
Okay. Anybody else online?
Tim Robinson, you are next.
Okay.
State my name for the record, Tim Robinson, 2605 Forest Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri, 64108, regarding the Beacon Hill docket, item number 5. Chair, Commissioner members, thanks for allowing me to speak. I'd like to start by reading a statement from Joe Christensen, the co-owner of Cardinal Crest Homes. What she provided.
Sir,
yes.
I don't want to get into the merits of the case at this point in time because we're looking to continue that case to a future date. And at that time, we can start talking about the merits of it.
Okay. I guess what I'd like to say is the factual document, basically the factual details show Cardinal Crest is deceived in regards to trying to engage the community. It seems like we're pushing the can down the street when each time they tell the community, that they would like to engage, and we keep getting put up for the docket and then we keep getting continued. We have substantial, basically, opposition to this, and we do not feel it's fair for the community to continue to readjust their schedules to be at the CPC hearings or to be told there's going to be a CPC hearing only 7 days prior. So what we're asking is we'd like basically the commission to continue this off of the docket until Cardinal Crest actually engages the community, so we don't keep going through this runabout where we have to inform our community that this is going to be on the CPC docket, and then it's going to be removed from the docket, and people are taking time off work, they're putting effort into this, well, the developer's not. So we're just asking that this be removed off the docket, and not continued in the manner that it continues to be brought up until Cardinal does engage and meet with the community.
Do we have any clarity on how frequently this has been continued? I don't know. We've seen it continue. Or
This is Anna's case. She should probably be able to tell us.
okay.
Nanoski?
Yep. I believe this is the second continuance that has been requested from the applicant.
Did they state reasons for why community engagement hasn't happened yet? Is there any extenuating circumstances we should be aware of?
Not that I am aware of.
Is the applicant on the phone? I don't know if they'd be able to comment.
I am not seeing the applicant online.
If you like, we could hold that case and not make a. Till we hear from the applicant?
Yeah, we could.
Okay. Anybody else out there with any public comments?
Yes, Sean Okus. Sean, I can't pronounce your last name. You're next. Sorry.
No problem. Sean Ochester. This is in docket number 5. I live at 2416 Forest Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm also the president of the Beacon Hill Homeowners Association. I'm not going to get into all the whys as to basically why we don't want this. I'll hold on those comments until it shows up again. But I will say this, Cardinal Crest is not engaged with the community since March of 2022. At that time, we were not approval. There was no approval of any of their plans or anything like that. As Tim mentioned, we request that the continuance and rezoning actually get denied. I want it to be denied just because they're actually at a breach of contract.
Here, I just need to interrupt here.
Sure.
The chairman has indicated we're not, or has not indicated that we're going to hear the case. So
okay.
We can't hear any testimony about the fact that you object to it or are opposed to the project. That's getting into the merits.
Okay.
We hear comments about whether you object to or agree with the continuance. That's it.
I object to the continuance.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Jane Keitzman, you are next. And there's a person online that just has a username with a bunch of numbers. If you can please reassign your name to your legal name, that will allow for us to be able to promote you.
Okay, who's next?
Jane Keitzman.
Okay, hi, Dane, if you can state your name and address for the record and which case you're referring to.
Jane, you're on mute.
There, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, this is Randy Keitzman, Randy and Jane Keitzman. We're at 2423 Forest Avenue. We will, I guess you don't want to hear testimony regarding the case itself, so we won't get into those objections, which are many and significant, and a lot of people have tremendous objections to it. But yes, we object to this.
Please.
Yeah, we object to this continuance as well. This has long been a case of Cardinal Crest just kicking the can down the road and hoping they can wear out the residents. They know there's tremendous opposition to this, and they're just trying to delay it long enough that people will lose interest and lose.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Who's next?
Ryan Bennett.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bennett. I live at 2513 Forest Avenue. I'm the chairman of the ARC committee for Beacon Hill, and I also would like to see this taken off the docket so that we're not having to continue to jump back on even though this is the second time it's been pushed down this time, they did submit last year around Christmas and had a couple things scheduled, and they ended up taking it back off. So this has been continued more than those two times. It's just two separate times. So we're just asking it to be taken off the docket.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
JC Thomas.
Hi, my name is JC Carmen Thomas. I live at 2509 Forest Avenue. Item number 5, same Cardinal Crest issue. I would agree to have the motion no longer continued, and please take this off so that we can settle this and not have to continue to work through this not good issue.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, that's it.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
That's it?
That's
Okay.
it, correct.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Is the applicant available for case 5?
I am not seeing the applicant in the attendees list.
Okay. All right. Thoughts from the commission?
So you're thinking hold it and see if the applicant could come.
We can do that or go with the recommendation that staff has, which is the continuance for a month. This is only what the second continuance I'm saying, which gives them the amount of time that they need to have their public meeting and updates, or a lot of the public is asking for it to be continued off docket. So they'd have to repost it.
I think based upon the number of people that asked for it to be continued off docket, it'll be fresh in our memories in a month if it needs to be continued again. And at that time, I'd be more likely to continue off docket. As of now, I'm fine to continue it as recommended by staff.
I would agree with that as well.
Okay. So with that, I'll take a motion on the continuance of these docket items that are currently open. Need to read them again?
I'll have a go.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I move to continue cases number 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2, 5, 7, 8, 11, and 12 as per docket.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for continuance of the docket items to date stated on the agenda. Lisa, can you take roll call on it, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for continuance of those docket items. So with that, that takes us back to docket item 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. So let's go ahead and let the applicant come forward and go ahead and open the case up, please, Olafu.
Thank you. Docket item number 3.1. Case number CPC 20220095. This is the KCI 29 Logistic Park. It's a request to consider amending the KCI area plan by changing the recommended land use from residential very low density to industrial land use designation on about 280 acres in an area generally located on the northwest side of Northwest 128th Street, south of the extension of Northwest 136th Street, east of North Winnan Road, and west of Northwest Interurban Road. Companion case 3.2 is case number 2022-00096. This is a request to approve an amendment to the city's major street plan for the realignment of Northwest 128th Street, Northwest 136th Street, North Ambassador Drive, North Winnan Avenue, and addition of Northwest 132nd Street. This is on about 2,100 acres in an area bordered by Missouri Route, Highway 92 on the north, I-29, I-435, and 128th Street on the south, Northwest Auburn Road on the east and North Bethel Road on the west. A third companion case is case number 2022-00097. This is a request to approve a rezoning from District M1-5 and AGR to District MPD, which also serves as a preliminary plot to allow for 20 million square feet of commercial, office, and warehouse development on 32 lots on about 2,100 acres located at the same location. I am the staff planner, so I got to switch location. Yeah, switching.
Just as we get started, commissioners, we talked at the last meeting that the size of this project, being that it is, it'd be nice to have a presentation one meeting and then take action the following meeting. However, given some of the absences that will take place on the August 16th meeting, plus we're missing two commissioners today, there's a concern about a quorum being available for the August 16th meeting. So with that, I think my preference here today is to go ahead and listen to the case as well as take action on it today. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Wow, we start this engine. I do have the applicant team with me, Patricia Jansen, Aaron Schmidt.
Oliver, can you speak more into the microphone, please? We can. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Commission, Olafur Agbaji City Planning and Development staff. I do have with me Ms. Jansen, Aaron Schmidt, and I think we have John Erpeldine and other associates in the crowd. These companion cases are located in the northeast part of town where my arrow is pointing. You can see just off the airport. Again, it's about 2,100 acres, and it's just located just off 92 Highway. And this is Platte County, not Clay County. I know that. So Platte County city limits just to the north of the freeway. Interurban is the easterly limit, and Arietta Stamper Quarry is just to the east of the site. And we did rezone this, I want to say 2 years ago, portions of the Stamper Quarry. And this is at the terminus of Mexico Avenue and Mexico City Avenue, which we did do the rezoning for this, I think 2 years ago also. We rezoned that from AGR to M1-5. It's just north of 29,435. Again, the airport is just to the south of the interstate. And as you can see, both of the flight path go through the site. So you can see the flight path coming through and going northeasterly. This is the overall area to be rezoned. And the three companion cases, again, the first one is a request to amend the area plan by changing the recommended land use from residential very low to industrial land use. And that's just on about 290 acres at the southeast corner of the site. The second one is to amend the major street plan, establishing the grid for those roads, even though, and I'll go through my presentation real quick, those streets are located on the major street plan, but this is the opportunity to actually plan them based on what's coming in on the site. So we are going to establish them based on the proposed development plan. And the third case is the actual development plan, the MPD rezoning to MPD. This is the first case. This is the area, 290 acres, including this small snippet. And this is the change of the area plan from residential very low to industrial. Staff is supportive of this change. And this is the area, the major street plan. As you can see, the existing street and the existing grid are just shown as is. And this is a chance for the developer on this scale to then establish the grid for this major street based on how the MPD is going to be approved. Again, this is the proposed layout, and this is going with the MPD. There's going to be a slight change proposed, but that will still have to be approved both by MoDOT and the city. So this alignment will work based on MoDOT's recommendation. I think the alignment is to take 132nd Street and kind of move it to give a little more length. And the overall project and the request to rezone this entire parcel to MPD is to make sure that, one, we're able to do this, and this MPD is seeking one major deviation, and the deviation is to 88-520 that requires MPD approval to be approved by City Plan Commission. The applicant is asking for that to be waived so that they can approve this administratively. So that's one of the major requests for this MPD. They would like that to be done administratively. That way the review is expedited, and then it cuts down on the overall review time and gets this going. The MPD is also proposed in 4 phases, which, as you can see on this plan, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. But they do not intend to, they will develop based on market demand. So even though they show the phases, they will be developing based on market demand. The MPD also will make sure that all the stream buffer within this area is respected and then treated so that it's sensitive to the overall stream buffer area. The final thing is that the MPD also, the 4 phases, it's proposed to be done in 20 years. So the phasing is supposed to start immediately and then go up to 2042. So it's about 40 years lifespan. I did receive some corrections, but staff's recommendation of 3.1 is approval without condition. 3.2, I'll just like to add a correction that the major street plan be approved by the Transportation and Development Committee prior to City Council action. So that's, and I think you're scheduled to go to the August 8th, which is next Monday. They will be before that body. So I'll just like 3.2 to state that approval by TDC prior to City Council action. And then we have approval of the MPD subject to corrections and conditions, which I do have an adjustment made by both Ms. Jensen and I, and we'll try to work that out. That ends my presentation, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to the applicant?
Can you go back to the original major street plan and then kind of flip back and forth? So the changes are, okay. And purple is existing, correct?
It's about existing. This is the street types, and then this is the typology. And the proposed now just straightens them out and then also adds 132nd Street.
So it's an addition.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that map, what's the little cutout at the top that's not included? Yeah, right to the right of your cursor.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
It's not within their holdings.
Oh, no.
So it's not within their holdings.
Do you know what it is? What I was trying to look it up on Parcel Viewer.
It's vacant.
Acreage. It's a large acreage tract with one house.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, I do have one of staff. How often have we gone through MPD with administration approval?
Historically, we've gone back and forth. I had MPDs that came through in the past where it was administratively approved. And then eventually, I think 2011 code made it where it's approved by City Plan Commission. Prior to that, I had MPD, I want to say my raw cost MPD was administratively approved for final plans, and the code never said which way, but we just went to City Plan Commission in 2011.
So it's been done before or not?
It's been done before, yeah.
How often?
I want to say I have two cases that I can remember that I had that went through administrative approval of MPD. It's similar to what you call your UR plan. So if you do your UR plan, and I failed to mention that they also have a design guideline that we will use to administratively approve those. They also have on the face of the MPD permitted uses and prohibited uses called out. So that makes it easy to do those administrative approval. So all those uses are called out.
So I just want to be clear, if it gets approved today, the City Planning Commission will never see this case back in front of it again.
No, you will not see it back unless there's a major amendment to the plan. And the criteria for that major amendment is on the face of the plan also. So. MPD.
Clarification. So for the stream, the current easement that exists, that is being maintained. There's no change to the easement around the stream buffer.
There is a stream, yeah, there's a stream
There is,
buffer
okay.
plan. Yep. Ms. Jensen just reminded me, you will see the final plat as they come through. So final plat, which means you platting the land in.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? All right, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Patricia Jensen with the Rouse Fretz Law Firm. Aaron Schmidt will do the majority of the presentation. I just want to first thank you. It's good to be back in the chambers. It's been over 2 years. The last time you met in person was when Twin Creeks was being approved. So I find being in person much more productive and being able to discuss cases. And we also appreciate you hearing this case today, and we are requesting that you act on it today. When this was first discussed in July, I stated that we would be agreeable to it, but then at the end of the committee was when everybody started talking about when they were going to be gone in August. It is our desire to get this approved so we can get out there to the market and market the site, but we need some concept approved for it. So with that, I'm going to have Aaron first make the presentation, and then we'll go through. Out of the 51 conditions, there are very little revisions to the conditions, and we've discussed them with staff ahead of time. We also believe that while the project is large, it's easily understood, I believe, by you, and we've spent a long time with staff discussing this project. So we believe it can be acted on today.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Aaron Schmidt with Hunt Midwest, 1881 Main Street, Kansas City, Missouri, 64161. Very excited to be here to present this important project in Kansas City. A little bit of background about our company. Hunt Midwest has been a key generationally owned real estate developer with a key record of investing in Kansas City since the 1960s. We're owned by the Hunt family, which is the same family that owns the Kansas City Chiefs. We've got over $2 billion worth of development projects that we've done, primarily in Kansas City, but that does include projects that we've done in different parts of the country. A lot of the projects that we have in Kansas City include Subtropolis, which is the world's largest underground business complex. We also have residential, senior living, and industrial projects in the Kansas City area. Probably our most unique project that's very similar to KCI 29 Logistics Parks is the Hunt Midwest Business Center, which is located at 435 and 210 very close to Worlds of Fun. This has been a very successful project. Started with Lamar Hunt's investment into Kansas City when he brought the football team to Kansas City in the 60s. Ever since then, it's grown into 2,500 acres of a very successful industrial and business center. 4,000 jobs have been created, 110 businesses, and over $1 billion worth of investment. So we have a very strong track record of providing quality master plan developments in Kansas City from an industrial standpoint as well as residential and other standpoint. We also develop industrial projects outside the Kansas City area. We have 14 million square feet of projects that either are built or under construction in 5 different states. So we have capital to invest in different parts of the country, but we're headquartered in Kansas City, and we want to continue to have our investment here at home. So this project is a very exciting project. It's a transformative project, we believe, in Kansas City, definitely in the Northland. 2,100 acres owned by a single entity, which is Hunt Midwest. That's very hard to come by. We believe it's the biggest mega site in the state of Missouri and definitely in Kansas City. It's centrally located in the logistics hub of the United States. So in Kansas City, you can reach 85 to 90% of the population within a 2-day drive. So from an industrial distribution logistics center, this is just a very key location for many companies. The uses on the property can include manufacturing, distribution, e-commerce, technology, and other amenities. It's got direct access to I-435 and I-29 and the KCI KCI Air Hub directly across the street. It's not just a piece of ground. It's got utilities, transmission level power, water, and sewer, which is very unique for a property of this size. So really the opportunity is, continued investment in Kansas City, but what that means is really attracting national and international large scale users. You read in the news about Panasonic coming to Kansas. This would be a perfect type of project and property for something that's very similar to that to happen in Kansas City. Again, attracting these users for manufacturing, distribution, e-commerce, technology, and office, all in one site directly adjacent to the airport. Again, continuing our investment in Kansas City, increasing and enhancing the use of the air cargo hub at KCI, and really leveraging the investment that the city's made in the new terminal at KCI. The city's invested over $1 billion for this project. It's really going to reshape the face of Kansas City, and we feel that this project right on the heels of the new terminal will be very important and perfect timing. So mentioned investment several times and really what the return on the investment and these are numbers for a full build out based on our success that we've had with the Hunt Midwest Business Center. So a full build out of this property would be $1.5 billion of private investment, potentially 9,000 jobs and a $450 million annual payroll. Of course, this is a multi-year project that doesn't all happen at once, but it just gives you an idea of the size of the private investment that could come to Kansas City because of this project. I've already mentioned the infrastructure with water, power, and sewer that's available, access to the Mexico City Avenue interchange, which is very underutilized right now, that has a lot of capacity. So it's just a perfectly located property at a great time in a great city. So the timeline, we're requesting your approval today. That will go to the the city council. And this fall, we plan to start design for our major infrastructure extensions and then start construction in 2023. So as Patricia mentioned, we do agree and appreciate all the hard work that staff has done and agree with their recommendations for approval. We just have a couple minor tweaks on the conditions. Condition number 4, this is an interesting project. It does require landscaping. However, the landscaping is approved by the FAA and the Aviation Department. Obviously, they don't want a lot of tree cover in this new development. It's going to be habitat for birds and increase the chance of bird strikes. So it will be extremely likely that we'll have a landscape plan that will be less than typically is what is required for this particular project. So our plan, and we've agreed with staff on this, is that if there is a lesser amount required, we take that amount that we would normally do, put a cost associated with that, give that money to the Parks Department in an agreement, and then the Parks Department can use that on a parks project within council districts 1 or 2. So we'll be spending the same amount of money, just have to meet FAA guidelines, and the stuff that we don't install in landscaping will be used for park project in the Northland. Conditions 5 and 7 are duplicates. And worded a little bit differently. This has to do with the streetscape, which we're not opposed to. It's just we want to be concise on our conditions for future projects that come in. As Olafu mentioned, conditions 16 and 17, we're just requesting that we get KCT Transportation Development Committee approval prior to council. We're on the agenda for August 8th, so we expect to have that completed prior to going to council here within the next 30 days. Condition 39.1, we'd like to submit evidence of the approval of the traffic study from MoDOT prior to going to the council. Right now, it just says approval from MoDOT, but it doesn't specify what approval. So obviously, we want to get their approval of the traffic study. Condition 49, should add except as provided in condition 2. So this is they're 2 conflicting conditions. Condition 49 says that every property has to have its own access to a water line on a separate tract. Condition 2 says we can have that on a separate tract or an easement that crosses. And to clarify that, we'd like to have condition 49 revised to say consistent with condition number 2. So it's really the water department that eventually gets to decide where we put our water lines. We just don't want to have conflicting conditions. Condition number 50 should be deleted. We've already revised our plans to show this. So be happy to answer any questions. Again, we support staff's recommendation and request your approval today.
Mr. Chairman, I think based on a conversation with Jeff Bryan, we're okay with revising condition number 30 on number 4 on here to say submit evidence of approval of the traffic study by MoDOT and the city.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that as well. Thank you.
What number is that?
That's number 4 on the screen. It's 39.1.
39.1. Yeah.
Okay. I'll get the language from you, Jeff.
And to specifically answer Commissioner Sadowski's question, we've looked at the streams around there and we planned the site adjacent to the streams, respecting the stream buffer ordinance.
Okay, so no variances are being
No.
asked for on that. Okay. I wondered if you could talk about the different phases and what you foresee coming in these phases.
Sure. It's a little tricky from a phasing standpoint because obviously you want to come in first off the interchange, but the utilities are kind of in the southeast corner. As I had mentioned earlier, we're going to start our design on the infrastructure extensions throughout the site this fall, which will be extended from generally this area where you have power, water, and sewer to the northwest to hit this interchange. So our plan is really to focus our first phase right at the interchange of Mexico City and I-29. It's got the most visibility. You need to come out swinging with a very successful visible project. So that's likely where we'll start.
I had so one on condition 4, would you be opposed to adding green infrastructure as another option for that funding? That'd be my one major question or about the project. I think I like the project as a whole. I think it's a perfect location. And probably really advantageous for you guys as well. So I think that was my main question, is about adding, potentially just calling it out. I think that's been our kind of go-to, is to, especially since we would probably consider landscape and stormwater as green infrastructure as well. And then I think my second question was, and this isn't obviously a requirement, but any ideas for solar for these facilities, to try to get them as net zero as possible?
So yes, we would be in agreement to consider green infrastructure as part of the overall extension, infrastructure extension through the property. And regarding the solar panels, yes, we'll definitely consider that. Really, it's a per user. We haven't identified a specific user. Some users would absolutely do that, and we'd encourage that to happen. But until we have a specific user, I wouldn't be able to commit to absolutely yes. But yes, we will take that into account.
With these types of projects, do pieces get sold to the users on occasion, or will ownership remain the same for the whole property?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's a really bad answer. It depends. It can go either way. For Hunt Midwest Business Center, we've done both. We've sold a large acreage tract, a lot to a single user. Some of the property we've owned and lease it to users. So it just really kind of depends.
Bring a lot of the uses industrial, correct? Like there's some office use, but that would be more accessory to industrial.
Yeah, it really depends. If we were to go, develop this immediately and put buildings on the ground right now, that makes most sense to be industrial. But, with a project this size, and this is the exciting part about it, is, you'll attract national people who are looking for headquarters. When some of the larger users in the country were looking for headquarters sites, such as like Amazon, these are perfect sites for that type of user. So, that's why the MPD has this flexibility to where if we can land a big whale that's a huge office user that's got technology and manufacturing, we can do that. So, a lot of different good uses that can happen here.
Looking at things like data centers and so forth as well. I know that Midwest development around centers
And I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question I missed?
would you be looking to data centers? Would that be on the table?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be on the table.
So the other thing is, the one unique thing with this site is that it offers the opportunity to attract basically everything in the supply chain, all the way through manufacturing, technology, office, industrial distribution. So this location with the utilities, the infrastructure, the location has the ability for us to go attract the larger businesses and put Kansas City, Missouri, and the state of Missouri in a position to win some of these mega projects that you're hearing about nationally. But also with the mix of site size and road infrastructure that allows that flexibility to go sell and locate at this site, from data center to distribution to manufacturing. My name is Mike Bell, Senior Vice President of Commercial Development, by the way, too.
Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? Okay.
I have more of maybe this is a staff question, just trying to understand what we're seeing here is pretty high level. So we're just kind of seeing where your tracks are. We have a general sense of what the use is. I'm trying to understand how that compares to some of the other projects we've seen, which with much more. Also, I don't know if staff can speak to that. I just would like to better understand this process.
I'm probably the only one that can speak to that, because I do handle the current Hunt Midwest Business Center, and that had pretty much the same thing when it was done prior to us requiring a UR plan. So they have a UR, but they didn't have a UR plan. So it's just zone normal. But we had a development standard built into that plan, whereby I think it restricted both your land and your parking not to exceed 90% of the overall site. It also gave them flexibility to move square footage from parcels to parcel to parcels. So for the overall development, it stays at 20 million square foot, but we can program it based on who comes and where. And that's how the overall Hunt Midwest, the old portion, was developed. And I still have, I think I have about 4 or 5 parcels left in that. So I've been managing that since I started here. So we use the same concept to do this. So once they find a user, they have the constraints of what they can do on each particular phase, each particular size, but it's movable. And in terms of the design guidelines, we have the same design guidelines that governs what the building will look like. We have setbacks. We have a location of parking. And again, we have the permitted uses. We have prohibited uses that they do not want to see in their park. That's more restrictive than the city's prohibited uses. The other 400 standards will be what's on the code. So we will review those with the same 400 standard that you have. So your lighting, we have a caveat in here that you may see a signage package come back, because based on what they're proposing, there will be a hierarchy of sign. So there'll be sign, there'll be freeway signs and all the signs to get you to the park. And then as you get in the park, there'll be other wayfinding and directional sign. So that'll be the next phase once they start coming through. So you see a sign package that covers the KCI 29 logistic park. So we will have a presence on the freeway. We give them opportunity to have sign as you fly over that's going to be visible because it's on the flight path. So you can see each individual building from the air. Just things like that. We will handle it. And it's stuff we've been doing with Hunt Midwest for a while.
I mean, I like that approach. I know we've talked about this before, having a cleaner site plan that allows you to blend with the design guidelines as you see fit. I guess my question is, are we not included in the conversation around design guidelines, or are you looking for council approval on those guys?
Council approval will come back to you on the signage plan, but in terms of the design guidelines, it's logistic parks, and they are pretty much your tilt-top panels, your aggregates, and the building is going to be what it is. But in terms of the actual standards, it will be the 400 series in the code. So your lighting standard will meet the code. Signage, we're going to meet the code or approved by sign standard. Your parking standard will be the code. So all those standards are going to be followed, both in the staff approval phase and then in the building permit stage. So those will be done.
So if there is, so the requested deviation is to do all that administratively. So if there was a case where they wanted to deviate from city code, would that come to us as like a major amendment?
Anything that does not meet, or anything that meets the requirement or the criteria for a major amendment, yes. Anything that's a minor will still be done administratively. So anything that meets the criteria that triggers a major amendment will come back to you and go back to council.
Okay.
And that's not been asked for to be waived. So,
Commissioner Sadowski, we have worked with staff very careful on the design guidelines, and they're placed on the face of the plan. You've seen a couple of pages from the plan. You haven't seen all the details that we've worked with staff on. The importance of our request for this deviation is really to provide speed to market to potential users of this park.
What's your perceived timeline to have the complete build out of the park? I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah, sure. That is a loaded question. So, 20 million square feet of buildings, absolute best case scenario, you do 1 million square feet a year or two, that puts you at a 20 to 30 year build out, probably in the most aggressive situation.
Right. Thank you.
And if there are additional driveways or roads, will those all be private besides what's already city street?
That's what we anticipate now. Depending on a user that comes in that may need another public road. If there's any amendments made to the major street plan that have an effect on kind of the overall surrounding property, that'll come back before the planning commission. But our best guess now is just to stick generally with the major street plan.
And also we left the flexibility for platting, which in case we plat and there's a requirement for private versus public street, we have that flexibility built in to allow for them to do a public or private street based on how they provide utilities to those parcels and based on what the final user is.
I just want to have it on the record, there's no issue from staff with regards to the deviations and change to conditions.
No. And that's why we have a lot of all those standards and requests are all on the face of a plan. So whoever gets the plan can review any administrative approval by just opening the plan.
And Mr. Chairman, I neglected to mention we did have our public engagement meeting. We had it up near the site at, I believe it was Church of the Rock. And we had a fairly sizable crowd there. And they were really desiring to get information on the plan. So I haven't heard of any opposition based on that public engagement meeting. So we really appreciate you hearing us today and hopefully voting on it. We believe it is a very transformative project for the Northland, especially adjacent to the city's huge investment in the new terminal. And we anticipate this is going to generate more development in this area because, of course, people need housing and ways to get to their jobs.
One last question, bus transit. Talk about the transit. Get those 9,000 people there.
Yeah, so we have started conversations in terms of what it would take to bring a bus route up there. And yeah, absolutely, that would be part of it in the long range overall development. Similar to what we did with Hunt Midwest Business Center.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. With that, I'm gonna open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket items 3.1, 3.2, or 3.3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature. I don't see anybody in the chambers. Is there anybody online that would like to speak?
No one has raised their hand.
Made an easy project. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Any last thoughts, applicants? I guess we're take a look at the conditions here.
No, that I asked Aaron to put this slide up again and again. Number 4 should change to say condition 39.1 should say submit evidence of approval of the traffic study by MoDOT and the city prior to ordinance request. He just made it all disappear. That's something I would do.
Things were going so well.
I have a copy if you would like that.
I do have. No, it happened.
Okay.
Control Z.
I think I've got some of the notes written down. So with that, we'll go ahead and close testimony then and discussion here amongst commission, or I'll take a motion.
I really like seeing on projects like this, us add that flexibility. I know it's been done before, so I'm excited to provide that flexibility again and have my full faith in staff to do a great job with making those decisions as they come up.
Yeah, I just think it's an exciting project for the city and have that Six Park there, businesses. So exciting.
Anybody else?
No, I just appreciate that you have a really large site with a pretty large stream buffer connecting on all sides. And I appreciate that you work that because that's not easy with
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of the project. I think it's a great project in addition to Kansas City, Missouri, as well as the Northland. I have no doubt that'll be done right and will be very successful. So I certainly look forward to seeing it come through. Nice job.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket items 3.1 without conditions, 3.2, and then 3.3 with corrections and conditions with the following changes. Change to number 4 with the option for a landscape, what I'll call fee or payment in lieu of the landscaping. Then we're removing docket item number 27 as it's a duplicate of number 5. And then with condition, then conditions number 16 and 17, TDC approval prior to council. Now, condition 39, having the traffic study from MoDOT and the city prior to council. Number 49, adding the language that says except as provided in condition number 2, so that those two work together, and then deleting condition number 50.
That's 39.1, submit evidence of approval by MoDOT and city, I think, instead
Prior
of
to
council.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would like to see on 4 Baker's suggestion of green infrastructure.
Right,
consideration.
and adding to condition number 4,
Option.
the option of looking into with real gusto green infrastructure as much as possible.
Okay, so we've got a motion.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second for approval of docket items 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 with conditions amended as stated in the motion. Lisa, can you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes. We certainly appreciate you bringing it in and good luck.
Thank you all.
So it's a 3:20 or it's a 3:20. So feels like it, but it's 11:20. Does anybody need a break real quick or we good to move on with a couple more cases and then take a break? Ready to move, continue moving on? You okay? All right. Let's move on then to docket item number 4, please.
Docket item number 4 is case number CD ROW 2022-00001. Catwater. This is a request to approve to vacate a portion of Jefferson Street, generally located on the north side of West 25th Street between Interstate 35 to the west and West Penway to the east to allow for redevelopment of the site to the east. Matthew Barnes is the staff planner.
Okay, good morning. See, I think I have everything shared correctly. Thank you. Okay, docket item number 4, case number CD ROW 2022-00001, which is a right-of-way vacation of Jefferson Street, just north of West 25th Street. And this is for the Penway Point project. And online, we will have the developer, Vince Bryant, and David Eichmann with Olson. The site is located just south of downtown, near Union Station. Here's a closer view of that site again. You can see its proximity to the World War I Memorial and Union Station, as well as I-35. And just one more closer view. The portion to be vacated is the green section right there to the left of the highlighted yellow section, which is the Penway Point future development. And here's just a view from West 25th Street looking north towards Jefferson. And here is the terminus of Jefferson. It does not connect through at any point. It is just a dead end. It's been a service road for these, the Carter Waters buildings there. which will be the site of Pinway Point. So overall view of Pinway Point that this vacation is for, it's a mixed use development with restaurants, bars, dog park, a neon museum, connections to the Green Line, and a Ferris wheel. The portion that is to be vacated will be for parking for the site, which they are also working with MoDOT to vacate the portion under I-35 for additional parking for the site. City utilities that are in the right-of-way are to be relocated at the owner's expense, and the applicant received approval from the utility companies who have utilities located in the right-of-way. And they also received the required 75% of adjacent owner consent. With that, staff recommends approval with conditions for the vacation of the right-of-way of Jefferson Street north of West 25th Street. And I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission to city staff? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then, if the applicant's available.
Good morning. It's David Eichmann with Olson, representing Vince Bryant with 3D Development on the project. The only thing that I would probably state, other than what Matthew has already, covered pretty correctly, is there is a combined sewer main that Water Services will maintain. We are, giving it as an easement, so that will still be operational underneath of the Jefferson Street right away. But other than that, we're just here for questions, and if you have any comments, like I said, Miss Bryan is on there as well.
Okay.
I just want to make a statement for the record. Commissioner Baker realized that he needed to recuse, so he stepped away and won't be voting on this.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant then? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature.
Richard Hernandez is online.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez, as you come off of mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Richard Hernandez, 2106 Holly, president of the West Side Neighborhood Association. I'm against this development. The encroachment on the neighborhood is getting to be too much. We got all kinds of buildings already. There's no parking anywhere around there. You got Southwest Boulevard, there's no parking. You got Broadway, no parking. There's no parking for this kind of development. And they're encroaching too much on our neighborhood. They put too much stress on our traffic now. This would only make it worse. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
There is a VB Design. They might have been a part of the applicant team.
Yes, my name is Vince Bryant from 3D Development. Am I able to share my screen? Yes, great. First of all, thank you for hearing this today. And I just want to clarify a few things. Number one, this is the former Carter Water site, which has been kind of construction materials handling for 100 years. Can you see this image that I've pulled up? So construction materials, kind of AKA junkyard. I mean, it's just really been an unsightly 3-acre site right in the middle of downtown. You can see the materials are all throughout the site, including under I-35 bridge. And what our plans are is to convert this to a family-friendly entertainment district. This isn't another power and light district. This is recreation-based entertainment. It is basically an adoption or a reimagining of an industrial site where we aren't just bulldozing all the buildings. We're revitalizing some of these 100-year-old industrial buildings, creating a recreational site with sand volleyball, miniature golf, 170-foot heated and cooled gondola Ferris wheel, some boutique office, eventually a new office building on the southwest corner. We have abundant parking, almost 400 parking stalls that we have put together between the 3-acre site, the area that we leased from the state under the bridge, as Carter Waters has leased that land for decades, and the area under Penway, which will also be parking and another access point. So I apologize, Mr. Hernandez, that we haven't come over to see you to talk about this project. This project, M1, M5 zoning, has all of the zoning necessary for the uses that we're talking about, including. This is, I think, a huge improvement to an underutilized, unsightly site that sits right on the highway. And we're excited to bring it forward and to improve the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else from the public like to speak regarding docket item number 4?
No one else has raised their hand on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Any other thoughts from applicant? I mean, I appreciate the presentation showing what you envision it to be in the future. Looks like a great project and a great addition to downtown.
Thank you. I would just point out the need and the reason for the request for the vacation. It's really just half of the roadway. Other half of the roadway is owned by the state. So it's really not a full roadway, Jefferson by itself. And it's really dead end roadway. We feel that we're going to be maintaining snow removal, repair and maintenance, adding significant landscape. We have about 55 trees planned for the site and the surrounding common areas to green up this kind of gray industrial site. So it's really to control, we couldn't do this development without the parking under the I-35 bridge. So it's to help have that control of that access point shared with the state, as well as to take over management and maintenance of that property.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close testimony then and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
I have a question.
Yes.
The developer.
Okay, go ahead.
You say you have 400 on-site parking spaces?
Yes.
Can you show them on the map, on the diagram a little while ago?
Yeah, let me see. Sorry, I closed this model out. I'll show you on the model that I pulled up, just fly around a little more. So there are roughly 230 spaces to the west along Jefferson and under the I-35 bridge. There's another 110 spaces to the east under Penway Pershing, which I'll show as it pulls up. And then we have a 50-car parking lot that's currently existing on Penway.
You already have permission from the highway department to use those 400 those spaces under the freeway?
Yeah, we've been leasing the Carter Waters lease from the state for decades prior to us. We signed a lease last October for a long-term lease on that same land. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
So we basically have parking along Jefferson, 170 spaces underneath I-35. We have a secondary driveway coming down off of 25th with parking underneath the deck structure, parking on the deck structure. And then we've got another 110 spaces from an east entry underneath Pershing and Penway. So it's about the best utilization you could get for these areas under bridges that you can't develop or build on. They're ideal for parking, which makes this really an ideal site for this entertainment district.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
With that, I'll take a motion, please.
I just had a clarification. So I don't have any issue with the vacation. I just was curious, based on the fact that it meets current zoning, are we going to see this project again or?
Yes. we will, it will be coming through a development plan for all the site work. And then each project will be coming through the building department on each project within. And then including this 4-story rehab building here that looks like 2-story, but it's 4-story. And then a future development plan approval will be required for this new building on the southwest corner. We have already conducted a traffic study and minor impact to the roadway system here. And we are submitting that as part of our development plan on our overall site approval for uses.
Great.
Okay,
Chair Crow, move to approve docket item number 4 with conditions.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 4 with conditions. Lisa, can you take roll call, please? Remembering that Commissioner Baker has recused himself.
Yep. Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for approval of vacation of the alleyway. We appreciate you bringing it in. Look forward to seeing the full project down the road.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and approval.
Okay. That takes us to docket item number 6, and I believe
Gotta go again.
Baker, you need to recuse again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Docket item number 6, case number SUP 2022-00032, the Hope Center. This is a request to approve a special use permit in District R0.5 for the expansion of a religious use and associated variances on about 0.6 acres located at 2800 East Linwood Boulevard. Najma Mohammed is the staff planner.
Good morning, Commission. Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
good morning.
Okay, there we go. Good morning. Before us, we have docket item number 6, CDSUP 2022-32, located at 2800 East Linwood Boulevard. The zoning for this location is split between our 0.5 and our 1.5. The applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit for the expansion of their religious organization under section 88-36503, the zoning and development code. So it's a little unique in nature, as religious uses and assemblies are regulated a little bit differently under the zoning and development code of the public and civic use. The subject site is located in the heart of the city. This is an overview of the subject site. As you can see, it is currently split between 2 parcels. A portion of this SUP is for them to be able to join these 2 parcels together, allowing for 3 primary uses to occupy 1 lot. So this would be their already functioning school, the entertainment venue, which is being changed from a church to this entertainment venue use, and their administrative offices. As you can see as well, the parcel line split the church in half. Staff saw that it would make more sense to merge the lots rather than try to split the lots to allow for the now entertainment venue and office to be on one site because of the location of the water service lines. So the current structures, they aren't changing apart from a small expansion to the east of the church to make a bathroom. The Hope Center will use the current landscaping that they already have to meet the code's request for landscaping on the property to accommodate all of their uses. The parking will be approved via variance. They don't have all of the parking they need. However, they are able to operate currently with the parking spaces they do have. So along with those credits and the possible variant from Board of Zoning Adjustments, they will be able to make those parking arrangements. And if not, they will have to go through an alternative parking compliance plan. Staff again determined that merging of the parcels would be best for this site as to not cut the water lines. And there is a condition, there will be work between water services in the Hope Center to come up with an easement for this line. Again, the use will change in the church building from a religious assembly to an entertainment venue. These are all considered eleemosynary uses, and so they're able to occupy the space because of their relation to the religious organization of the church in the residential zone. Whereas if they weren't related to the religious organization, they would not be able to occupy this space in a residential zone. Again, all of the activities on this site are related to the Hope Center, and that information on their validity as a religious organization is attached to the staff report. Staff recommends approval with conditions, and that concludes my staff report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for city staff? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant.
I will also note that you all should have received some letters of support that I received after submittal of the staff report, but they have been printed out and attached to Compass KC and have been notarized for the board to receive as well.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
And state your names and address for the record, please.
I'm Marvin Daniels. I'm the Executive Director of the Hope Center, 2800 East Linwood Boulevard.
Trudy Faulkner, I'm with Strata Architects, 1701 Oak. And we also have colleagues online from Ole Engineering, as well as my colleague at Strata, Jill Turner.
Okay, glad to have you all today.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the project. And
I will just say a few words and then I'm going to turn it over to Marvin because he's why we're here.
Perfect.
So this is a really straightforward project. It's an existing historic church that we are refurbishing. This organization has been using facilities on the site since 2011. It's a building that has been underutilized that we are trying to put back into utilization and improve activity in this area. The small expansion that was noted is 114 square foot restroom addition on the side that will not be visible. So the rest of the facility is really just refurbishing and restoring the existing historic church. Currently it is, or historically, it was set up for 500 seats. We will only be utilizing 350. So we're not maximizing or overutilizing the space. And I will let Marvin take it from there. There are a few questions I want to go over in relation to the rezoning. The way this site has been split up and modified and changed is really awkward. And we are finding county documents do not match city GIS documents. And we have some questions we've sent to Olofu on that, but we need a little bit of assistance on resolving that.
Thanks, Trudy. Good morning to the commission and the chairman. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to represent today. The Hope Center has been in existence since 1998. We've been on the property that we've acquired in 2005. And so as a community and youth development organization, we just get the privilege of serving our neighbors there in the Santa Fe, Oak Park, Ivanhoe and Palestine communities. Our youth program served from K through 12th grade, and then our community projects have been based upon founding a medical clinic called Hope Family Care Center that resides right there in the Prospect Business Corridor right now on the landing there. In 2011, when they closed or 2010, when they closed all the elementary schools in the 64128 zip code, we started a elementary school, public charter school, in conjunction with Hope, in conjunction with the University of Central Missouri. And so we've run 130 to 150 students there at Hope Leadership Academy in the school building that we have there. And then but in the afternoon through the evening, the building operates as our community center from 3:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. And so we have the opportunity to do family events, make sure we're doing after school programming from K through 12. We have the opportunity to do community outreach events. We're in partnership right now with the Prospect Business Association to do some attainable housing within our community context. We have a boxing program that we operate as well. And so we've just continued to do a comprehensive meeting or comprehensive outreach just to create sustainability in our community. Our vision is to develop healthy communities where the vulnerable can have hope and flourish. And so we also, in partnership with the Santa Fe community, we have a community garden that's located on the corner of Linwood and Benton Boulevards. It's not fenced in. Anybody can come in and partake of whatever they need in our community. And so we've been in existence mainly to make sure that we can create the role of hope and sustainability in our community for the last 23 years. And we're just going to be honest here. For 23 years, we've been able to support ourselves as an organization just by private donations. We built the state-of-the-art playground with private donations. We acquired the property with private donations. We are building this facility that's going to be a $4.8 million capital campaign project, and we've raised $4.4 million in private donations. And so we are elated with the opportunity that we have people's generosity to support the work of the Hope Center. And now we just need to continue to use the assets that we already have for the benefit of our neighbors once again.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions from the commission to the applicant?
What's some of the proposed programming for the church?
Thank you for that question. So one of the things that we will continue to do in our programming is to provide opportunities in the arts for our students, fine arts, visual arts, for our students to be engaged in the dramatic arts, because it's a beautiful facility without any obstructions between the stage and seating. And so we'll have the opportunity to do that with our students as well. For our community, we'll have the opportunity to continue our family. We do family events every month on a monthly basis, and this gives us greater space to reach even more families to be able to do that. I want you to picture family movie nights that we gather together. We'll do all cultural events that we have throughout the month, all celebrations of holidays that we have as well. Friday nights, Saturday nights will be for students to gather together to be able to do creative arts and special events for them during those times. And of course, for other special events like weddings, our homeowners association meetings, other gatherings that businesses, churches, and other community members want to utilize. It will be specifically a gathering place in our community. And as our oldest member of our community, one of our oldest member of our communities reminded me when it was just a consideration, do you want to continue to remodel it or tear it down, is the statement, buildings have memories. So our goal is to create new memories in that facility, in our community.
Very good. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. At this time, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody that would like to speak regarding docket item number 6, please step forward or raise your hand on the Zoom feature.
Laura Mullins, you're first.
Hi, my name is Laura Mullins. I live at 3112 Benton Boulevard, which is right next door to the Hope Center, and I wanted to show up and testify in support of the plan. They do a lot of programming already. I worry about them on the hot blacktop, so getting them inside would be good. I think it'll encourage more participation. I also wanted to kind of break the neighborhood trend today and assure you that parking will not be a problem. They do a lot of programming there already. Parking is never an issue. Overflow is always handled well. They're good neighbors, and I just wanted to support their efforts.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura. Anybody else?
David Campbell, you are next.
I'm actually just here was a member of Ewell Engineering working on the project.
Okay.
No one else has raised their hand via Zoom.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just the questions. So the way, I don't know if you recall on the images that Najma had brought up, but the church is actually split in half with the way the zoning was done on the site. And we originally had come to the city for rezoning, which we were very clearly told would not happen because of the potential for the owner to sell the property and potentially tear the building down and rezone or use the facility in a different way. So that's why we're pursuing the special use permit to expand the facility's uses. So there are two things. One of them is a condition that is the owner is now responsible for adding an easement for water services when that valley or the alley to the west of the building was vacated. That was not done by the city. I'm not sure why. So that's something that we have agreed to accommodate. And really it's a drive with some parking shown on it. So that's not a big issue. And then the other item is just, looking at the amount of parking required for this rezoning. And one of the questions, we started going through the city for looking at the combination of the lots. And we're told we needed to go through the county. So we started the process with the county, but there's still some issues with the city. So our surveyor's comments states that the way the title report groups the parcels together is how we've shown it on our survey that was submitted, but the city GIS has the parcels split up differently. And so we're not really sure who resolves that. Is it the city that we need to be working with or the county? So we need some clarification on that. And I know she has sent some messages to Alofu. And then the issue we really have is on tract 1 at the south end of the project. The way the parcels are shown for the proposed improvements, we're basing it on the city's GIS parcels, but we would need to combine a few parcels to make that happen. And so we have an application submitted on this, and I have that number. I guess what we really need to know is, do we need to do a lot consolidation plat for this, which is more cost to the owner or something they had no issue in creating. So we just need some clarification on that.
I would just recommend you get in touch with me and we will handle that outside of this. I'll also get Najma involved. So
I know Ann Smoke, who is our surveyor, has contacted you. So we'll just do a follow-up meeting if that's acceptable.
So with that, Olafu, I just want to make sure that we don't prove any conditions here that may cause issues down the road.
I believe the conditions as stated will be fine regardless of if they combine the lots on a city level or on a county level. The county level would have been more straightforward if there, I guess, were less issues between or discrepancies between the GIS on the county and the city. But again, we'll talk about that outside of this space, and the conditions as stated will be fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there an alternative to a lot consolidation plat, or do you see a preferred strategy outside of that? That's the only thing I could think of.
I can answer that. The other strategy would be just do it by deed and record it at the county. So just go get your 2 deeds and put them together into one, and then that's recorded at a recorder of deeds. Reported back to us. So, but I'll make sure she knows that. So.
Okay.
In any case, you still need the easement for the water. Is that? Yeah. And then is there a time frame for the special use permit? Is there?
We don't need, so not all special use permits require a time limit. So this can go with the land or with the use itself.
Just making sure. So we don't have to do that.
That was one reason we pursued it, is because it would be tied to the owner. And if they ever sold the property, then that special use would go away with the change of ownership.
Okay. Does that all make sense to how to move forward?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? So with that, go ahead and close testimony then and speak amongst the commission, or I'll take a motion, please.
Make the motion. Motion to approve subject to conditions. Docket item 6.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 6 with conditions stated. Lisa, can you take roll call, please? And remembering that Commissioner Baker is recused.
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes 5-0. Thank you for bringing it in and thank you for everything you do for our community.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Two more cases. Mr. Baker comes in. There he is. All right. Let's go ahead and go to docket item number 9, please.
Docket item number 9 is case number CPC 2022-00107. This is the 4711 Bellevue mixed-use development. This is a request to approve a rezoning to MPD from District MPD and District R1.5 and approving a preliminary development plan to allow for the construction of a mixed-use building containing 338 dwelling units and retail restaurant space on about 1.3 acres generally located at the northwest corner of Bellevue Avenue and West 48th Street. Genevieve Khan is the staff planner.
Okay, hello again, commissioners. Before you is docket number 9 for a rezoning to MPD at 4711 Bellevue to allow mixed-use development. And there has been an adjustment during the review process. So we are actually looking at 320 residential units for this project. Site is generally located in the Midtown Plaza area. Subject site is located or is outlined in yellow and it contains 8 parcels. And then as you can see, the Country Club Plaza is just a few blocks to the east. Here is a closer view of the subject site. The zoning on these northern 7 parcels is MPD and the southernmost parcel is zoned R 1.5. There was a previously approved MPD zoning and development plan for this northern portion of the site. However, the applicant for that previously approved project, it was a different project, still residential, but as you know, the MPD is the zoning and determines what is allowed to be built. So this applicant has come in proposing to rezone this entire site in order to allow for the development that they are proposing. Because as you have seen, I'm sure driving on Bellevue, nothing has ever been constructed from the original MPD. This is the site plan. The proposed project is a mixed use building to contain 320 units with some retail and restaurant space on the lower ground levels. The development will also include amenity space and an open amenity deck just above street level, which you'll see in later slides. There was a traffic impact study submitted with this project proposing that West 48th Street to the south of this development area be 2-way traffic. It is currently 1-way traffic. That is still under review and I can provide more information about that later on. I'm going to show a couple of floor plans just to give you a better idea since this is quite a large building and it's on a hill. The tall part is the northern portion of the site and the bottom of the hill is the south. So there's a lot of different uses on different grades. So as you can see, this level is all parking and the retail space on the southern corner. There is one vehicular entrance at this grade level to the underground parking. There are 4 total levels of parking, most of which are underground. And then this is the next level up. So now we are at grade for the highest point of the hill. There's another entrance here to the parking. And then this is where we get to the amenity deck area in this portion of the site. some retail and amenity area on this portion. There are stairs from the sidewalk. So we're technically going up to above grade here, which will be a little bit more clear when I get to the renderings. And then this is showing sort of how the building shape changes once we get up to where all the residential units are located. It takes this curved shape, whereas on those bottom levels, it takes a more rectangular shape to include the amenity areas and the retail spaces. So here we have an elevation of the proposed building on the Bellevue side. The red line that crosses the building here at 130 feet indicates the recommended height in the plausible concept outlined in the Midtown Plaza area plan. I want to point out that this property is not located within the Bowl Overlay District. Therefore, this 130 feet line is only a recommendation and is not required by code. Additionally, the proposed zoning to MPD allows for flexible lot and building standards and does not really have a height maximum. I will say the applicant has worked with staff to bring the height closer to that recommended 130 feet, and that included reducing the number of units. As you heard, there was 338 originally proposed, and now we're down to 320. Here's the map from the Midtown Plaza area plan. The site is the star here, so that's within the yellow area, indicating a minimum recommended height of 45 feet and a maximum of that 130 feet. The applicant provided this image to staff, shows the context of sort of the bowl here, and it lists some data of surrounding buildings. The Polsinelli building is located across the street from where this proposed development is. I think the majority of these buildings precede the bowl concept and overlay. So there is quite a bit of difference in the heights here, and the applicant can discuss that further during their presentation. I have just a few more elevations. As you can see, this is what the side of the building from West 48th will look like, and it's primarily taken up by residential on the ground floor. This is the back of the building facing internally towards the block. And then here is an image of what that amenity deck will look like. Hopefully it makes a little bit more sense now. You can see the stairs that come up from the sidewalk. So this is sort of a second level. I also have this rendering which highlights the areas that the applicant has made adjustments to in order to get closer to that bowl concept, including step backs, both depth-wise, I believe on the 7th and 11th floors, and then also from the side, just to sort of reduce the domination of the architecture here. And then here's that amenity deck again. And then these last slides are just looking at the current street view. This is the bottom of the hill. This is where that proposed retail area will be. And then the top of the hill, looking down towards the site, you can see the Polsinelli building at the bottom of the hill. So lastly, I just want to point out that the applicant has been working with the neighborhood organizations and Historic Kansas City to also review this project. I know the Historic KC group recommended the applicant implement increase and or additional step backs from what I've just shown you and what city staff reviewed. The applicant would like to implement some additional changes of step backs. So I'm requesting that the commission add a condition for the applicant to submit these revised plans prior to the request for ordinance. And I just wanted to make you aware that the plans that go forward to council approval may not be these exact plans that you're seeing today. They might be slightly different, and the applicant can speak to that as well. Otherwise, staff recommends approval with conditions to this project. And I can take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission to city staff?
Regarding the traffic study with the street currently being one way and the effort to make it a two-way street, is it possible that a traffic study with the one-way street as is would show that it's sufficient, or was it known that the one-way street is not sufficient as is, and therefore the only option is to make it a two-way street?
Yeah,
Brian, yep.
Okay, I was just gonna say the request was for converting it to two-way with the development, so it wasn't something looked at separately. So, yeah, they're kind of going hand in hand, so to speak. So the conversion would take place along with this at the same time. So, well, during the development. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but yeah.
I guess I was curious if, I mean, yeah, you partially did it. I guess I was curious if the applicant knew that they would absolutely need a two-way street. And so if for some reason that couldn't come to pass, is there a chance that they would then do a traffic study with the one-way street as is and find out it is sufficient? Or is it already known that that's not a possibility?
Yeah, I guess I'd say in that case, yeah, they were wanting the two-way street. So yeah, that's everything it's been showing showing it two-way. So yeah, if it didn't proceed that way, then yeah, they'd have to resubmit a study showing it one way as existing. So
what would be the benefit of a two-way street there? Because you're hitting a one-way, Bellevue's one way in any case.
I think sort of going back also to Commissioner Ender's question, and like Jeff Bryan mentioned, this is completely initiated by the applicant. This has been attempted before solely for the feasibility of this project. So it's not necessarily to say that this sort of project couldn't be built having that one-way street, but it's really the developer's choice and their effort to, and in their feasibility of this project, to make that a two-way street, if that answers your question.
Yep, thanks.
any other questions from the commission to city staff? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. Are the applicants available?
Sean, I am promoting you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity to present this exciting project. I'm also joined by Brandon Buckley with the development team. I have Tyler Weissong with Kimberly Horn and David Dow and Kyle Schleicher with El Dorado. I'd like to hand it over to Brandon to give a further high-level introduction, and I will be available to also answer any questions along the way.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. I really appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. First off, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Brandon Buckley with Lane 4 Property Group. And I'll be serving as the representative of the development team. Our offices are located at 4705 Central Street, Kansas City, Missouri, just a few blocks away from the subject site. Thank you, Genevieve, for your presentation. Appreciate you giving the overview of the project. One thing I do want to note is there was a slide in there showing some building heights that we have come to learn is maybe not 100% accurate. So maybe in the future, let's just to avoid confusion, remove that from proposals. Also, just want to take a minute really to thank city staff for their communication and their willingness to engage discussion, which has really been in the interest of all parties. Also, we've really appreciated the frank discussion with neighbors and stakeholders in the area who allowed us to share our vision for the project. As a representative of the development team, I'd like to make myself available for any questions you may have going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Can you explain the confusion a little bit about the building height? Just kind of go through that real quick.
Yeah, sure. Some of those buildings were measured by Google Street, which isn't 100% accurate. Number is more, estimations of what the heights would be. Also, some of those projects were approved prior to the area plan being implemented. I believe it was about 6 years ago. So I just want to make it clear that variances in those cases weren't necessarily congruent with what we were asking for in this proposal.
Can you talk about the reduction of units going from 338 to 320? Was that just an effort related to the building height, or was there other factors there?
Yes, we've had a number of iterations of the project. As we've discussed with city staff, we actually removed the half floor as the site steps down. The site does slope 36 feet from north to the south end of the site itself. So that was a reflection of the reduced building size. We're going to continue to evaluate the unit mix, which may change that number slightly, but that's our estimate at this point for the total number of units.
I'm curious, are you pursuing incentives, meaning are you providing for some affordable housing in there?
Not at this time. Are we looking at affordable housing within this project?
Talk a little bit about the two-way street. I'm interested in that.
Sean, do you want to take that one, or do you want me to address that?
No, I'm happy to take that. So that, as stated by staff before, that was a request by the project team in order to help facilitate more options for entrance and exit into the parking garage. And it was also our observation over the past few months and years that that's one segment of 48th Street being one way sparked some confusion for traffic. And so we've noticed cars going the wrong way on that segment of street periodically. And so between that and again, just for more flexibility for vehicular access, particularly off the alley on the very east side of the development, we thought that would ultimately make for a more convenient traffic flow for the tenants of the building.
One thing I may add to that is we also feel, because as Sean mentioned, that's the only area of 48th Street that is one way, that'd be better connectivity to the West Plaza neighborhood. And so we're looking to facilitate that.
I drive down that street a lot, so it's pretty narrow, even when because you've got people parking on one side. So I think the parking would have to be changed or no parking. But I can understand why you need it for access into the parking garage as well. So.
And I noticed driving down there that Roanoke Parkway gets pretty congested right there. And I think if you had a street that allowed you to go west, it would maybe clear that out a little bit.
It's true.
I wondered if you could, if you knew anything about the property just east of you. There's the Washington Irvine condominiums, but there's like a smaller property there. Do you have any idea if that's planning on being redeveloped? I know it's been vacant for some time as well.
It's my understanding it is in a redevelopment currently. I'm not sure when those renovations are planned to be completed, but I know there are some plans underway.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 9, please come forward and or raise your hand on the Zoom feature. So we're going to start. We've got a couple here in the chambers. So we'll start there.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Vicki Notice. I live at 14 East 55th Terrace in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm an architect and urban planner, my own practice here in Kansas City. And I'm currently president of Historic Kansas City Foundation, which is the capacity I'm representing today. With me is Lisa Briscoe, our executive director, and we're going to split our 5-minute time frame and hopefully come in well under that. The staff report and the applicant's presentation spoke to some of the issues that were of concern to us when we first started working with them. And we were working with the surrounding neighborhoods and our organization in a very cooperative way with the developer. They met a number of times with us. I think they understood our concerns and they responded to them in a way that made a big difference in terms of our support. Our support for this is based on the updated plaza plan from 2016. It's been used by the city to focus on making sure we get growth and development on the plaza and still maintain the existing character of the older historic parts. The bowl concept that Genevieve mentioned governs the height. It was meant on this on the west side of the plaza to allow buildings to be taller, especially in these in this corridor between the legs of the traffic way. But it does have a range, she mentioned, from 45 to 130 feet. The issue about the height restrictions in the plan, they're not random and they weren't frivolous. They were determined by an analysis during the plan with the staff and consultants and then all the stakeholders, including developers, the neighborhoods, institutions in the area, small businesses, et cetera, and larger property owners. And they are based on the topography of the area and the other things that already exist. Some of the heights of the buildings on this part of the plaza are taller than that calls for in the plan, but they were built prior to either the first plaza plan or the second update. They were not given a variance for that. They were just already there when the plan was built. And those heights were taken into consideration as well when this was determined. Ongoing adherence to the plan, we think, is important to protect current and previous investments that are made by property owners who've invested millions of dollars in the plaza and that they have complied with the plan. If new people who come along do not comply, then they've jeopardized their investment in the plan. And it only works if everybody sticks to the plan and uses a predictable process. And this process did work for that. The applicant came in much higher on the south end. And as we worked with them, they made concessions to be able to bring that back down. The bowl concept is not meant to provide a single ridge around the outer part of the plaza. It's meant to vary. That's why it says it's between 45 and 130 feet, but knowing most people are going to come in shooting for the 130 feet, we want to make sure that when we deviate from that, that there's a good reason and it's based on a specific project. And that's what it is in this case. They revised the plan to bring the height down within an acceptable range. They started off with about 25% over, which was significantly over. And we worked with them on the south facade to make sure that because of the topography and the fact that they met all the other requirements in the plan, which many projects don't pay as much attention to, and the fact that one of those requirements is a parking requirement, and they've got obstacles below grade that made it difficult to provide all the parking that's required, which they did. That helps the impact on the surrounding buildings as well as the surrounding street network and the traffic, which is another big issue addressed in the plan. So in that light, they worked to bring that down. Our support for this project is specifically applied to this site and this design. Does not apply to any other site that might come before you later in the trafficway corridor. If any proposal bases a height, comes in based on a height deviation over the 130 feet on the fact that a variation was approved for this site, and therefore other projects deserve the same height, would be an erroneous assumption. We do not want any exception to say that the next building can say, well, they got 20 feet more, so we can have 25 feet more, and the next one can have 35 feet more, and you've destroyed the concept of the urban design element of the plan. So we are worked with them on some specific conditions that I think they have agreed to and are adopted to the plan, and Lisa's going to share those with you real briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Lisa Briscoe. I live at 3514 Jefferson Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm an architect and city planner and currently serve as executive director of HKC. For 15 years, I served as the division manager of planning, preservation, and urban design of the City Planning and Development Department. HKC, as Vicki mentioned, met with Lane 4 on 2 previous occasions, and a positive note regarding that is even though they had a positive staff report in hand, they met with us no less. And they responded to our request for a reduction, and I'm going to give you the highlights of that now. And if you want, we can have Sean and Brandon pull up a particular image that shows you where more of those reductions were taken. As Vicki mentioned, the site does have topographic challenges. It's certainly higher at the north with a lowering grade in excess of 30 feet going towards the south. That grade change is really what pushed the building up and out of the design envelope that you've seen, which is recommended and certainly higher at the south end of the site. Now, although the project is above and beyond the 130-foot limit, we, HKC, are going to be in support of the project, but subject to some specific conditions that we placed in our letter that you should have in your packet from yesterday. But I'm going to paraphrase and not read verbatim from what the letter states. So items 1 and 2 in the letter call for that the developer confirms in writing depicted on the plan sheets that the distance of the step backs, which have been increased from the south facade planes, and the height deviations as well on the southeast and southwest corners are depicted on the plan, and those details are in the letter and in their submittal. Item 3 states that the final master plan and any amendments to that plan must be reviewed and approved by the city council. And the final point was that the developer will include as a part of the MPD text that states that the site will be programmed to encourage on-site parking and will not encourage off-site parking into the adjacent residential neighborhoods. We had asked for something quite a bit stronger, but we compromised on that particular point. As Vicki mentioned, more development is expected in the corridor in the future, and we really want to emphasize that HKC and the surrounding neighborhoods, which you should hear from today, will not accept or support deviations from the height restrictions on every project that comes down the pike. This project has very specific, definable site issues and an overall design within its site context that makes sense from a design and construction perspective. And while meeting the other requirements in the plaza plan from step backs to setbacks and public parking and public space, Historic Kansas City really wants to thank Lane 4 for taking the time. We had very detailed, lengthy conversations on 2 occasions at their offices. And it's really due to that kind of example that it demonstrates that how the community and developers can actually make this work and a part of the public process. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a copy of that letter by chance that you can circulate around?
Yep, I have.
Yes, we're getting that. Anybody else? So is there anybody online that would like to speak regarding this case?
Julie Jennings, you're first.
If Julia Thompson is on, she should go first.
Hi, I'm Julia Thompson. I'm president of the West Plaza Neighborhood Association, and I live at 4701 Wyoming Street. And we would like to voice our non-opposition to this program or to this project. And I also want to thank Lane 4 Development for coming to our neighborhood and coming to our board meeting to discuss this project with us. We have been in support of development of this site for the previous proposals. So we're excited to see that hopefully this will come to fruition and we will have a new development here. We also appreciate that they included parking, given the limited availability of street parking and traffic congestion in the area. And in addition, that they are providing some conveniences to the larger neighborhood, not just the amenities on site for the residents. We had three concerns. So we did not oppose it subject to these concerns being addressed. The first two have already been addressed by Historic KC, and we appreciate the time that Historic KC put into concerns about the height and about any future amendments to the final master plan. So we feel like those have been well addressed by HKC. And then the last one was that we would like for Lane 4, once they purchase the property, that they will be responsible for the security and upkeep before and during construction. I did have a chance to talk with Brandon a few days ago about this concern, and I recognize that we were hoping to get the building that's standing there now taken down first. That does not appear to be financially feasible, but we do ask that they maintain the security and upkeep of the site before and during construction. Other than that, we have no opposition to that project.
Okay, thank you.
Mark Ebbets, you're next.
Hi there, I'm Mark Ebbets, and I own a building at 4800 to 4808 Bellevue. I've seen a lot of projects from Mr. Rothstein and others to develop that site. Mr. Van Tile before he passed away, and David Harrison since then. I've got two comments. As an owner of a property and as a person who's lived here for over 20 years at an office. We've seen construction at the Poisner building, Bernstein Rain in the olden days, go up and then come back down again. There was a lot of traffic that was created by construction workers and other people. And we'd like to have that addressed on this issue for the construction people. Number two, the street, 48th Street from Bellevue to Roanoke is a very narrow street. I don't see how they're ever going to make that two-way, but even if they do, that takes away another 10 parking spaces that are on the south side of 48th Street as you're going proceeding eastbound.
Mr. Ebbets?
From Bellevue. Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of losing you there a little bit. It's kind of hard to hear some of your comments.
Okay, sorry. Am I any better now? I'm in a,
yes, that's a lot
could be
better.
a bad Wi-Fi. Am I better?
Yes.
Okay, so not sure what you heard, but I'm opposed the 48th Street making two-way. I don't see how that's ever going to work. And then number two is you're taking away 10 parking spots that are there now. Those are temporary spots that some people in our shopping center use to get their nails and hair done. And with those going away, it just puts more stress on the residential side that we don't have today. And then my final opposition is again with the height. I'm a big supporter of the Plaza Plan. We give a variance here, and I know Ms. Notice, I've talked with her before on various committees. I'm just really opposed to the height variance because we give it here and then we give it again. And then one other comment, then I'm done. I didn't hear how many parking spaces were in the proposed development. If it's 1 or 1.5 per unit, maybe, but for a 1-bedroom unit, usually there are 2 people there, and most people have 2 cars these days, even though we're trying to be more green. So that's another reason why I'm opposed to the project. Thank you very much for allowing me to testify today.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Julie Jennings, would you like to give public testimony now?
Yes. Hi, my name is Julie Jennings. I live at 4520 Bell Street. I'm on the board of the West Plaza Neighborhood Association and have worked closely with Lane 4 in the process. They were very kind to come to us present and do their public engagement meeting at our general meeting and then have their own as well. We are non-opposed to the board is non-opposition, as Julia stated. As the Director of Membership for the West Plaza Neighborhood Association, I've been in contact with the commercial property owners that are members of the WPNA around there, Mark being one of them. Currently not renewed, but hey, he can fix that. And because the current state of the property has been a cause of contention with the safety and well-being of the employees and clients of the other three corners of the property, we very much are in favor of development there, but we, as the neighborhood, are concerned that the current ownership is not taking care of the property as it should, boarding it up if it's not torn down, taking the dead tree that could fall on someone at any moment down, etc. So the things that can be done before the demo, we really encourage that they be done. And the traffic patterns are going to be what the traffic patterns are. If we lose the parking places on 48th Street because the people that are going to be living there go in and out, people will adjust. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
No one else has raised their hand on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. So going back to the applicants, there's a few things that were brought up. Do you mind addressing those? And that's to include, I think we kind of talked about height consideration, but security during construction, how that's going to occur, Bellevue two-way, and then I think parking might have been the other issue.
Yeah, I'd be happy. This is Brandon Buckley with Lane 4. I'd be happy to speak to those items. We do have 414 spaces as our part of our current plan, which is a ratio of about 1.3 cars per unit. It's possible that our unit count goes down as we continue to study the best unit mix. So we'll continue to look into that. We're also looking into subterranean conditions that may allow us to hopefully increase the parking count. That's our hope, but we're going to continue to look into it. Let's see, on the regarding the site cleanup, we think that's a very fair request. So that's something we're going to look into in more detail and pursue. Let's see, what else am I missing here on the two-way street? I can't remember exactly how many parking spaces would be lost, but that is something that we do feel is a net benefit to the area, and we're happy to have discussions in that regard in the future.
Some of the parking within your facility, is it going to be used? Is it for like guests or others that are going to the facility that they can park there? And I doubt any of it's going to be for public parking.
Yeah, unfortunately, no just open public parking, but we do have spaces reserved for guests at this time. Assuming that there are going to be guests to the project, that's something we're setting aside spaces for.
But how about the restaurant? I think there's a restaurant in there.
Right now, we're showing retail and amenities. I would say that's more amenity than retail. We do have a bodega on the corner, which we expect there to be some spaces used for that, and that would be intermingled with the guest parking.
Okay.
And the other question I've got, have you seen the historic Kansas City letter, and are you okay with those conditions?
We have seen it. We've been in close contact and discussions with them, and we are in agreement on those conditions.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Commission?
Mr. Chair, could I make a clarification about those letters that were submitted?
Yes.
Yeah, as I failed to mention, those letters were provided to me after the staff report was submitted. So they are available on Compass, but they were not included in your packet. The conditions in those letters are between the developer and those organizations. However, I did notice one of the conditions was suggesting a requirement that all final plans for this project, as this is an MPD zoning, it will require an MPD final plan later on. That is one of my conditions. In our zoning and development code, that plan is approved by you, the plan commission. That plan does not go to city council for approval. And I just wanted to make that point of clarification that the final plan will not be heard by the council. And if there's any sort of legality questions, I know Sarah Baxter is available for that.
So just to be clear, these conditions are between the developer and Historic KC. So this doesn't change or amend the conditions.
The agreement between Historic Kansas City and the developer, which is also on behalf of the neighborhoods, is what we expect to go to council. And it was the council people's recommendation that it come back to them to make sure that the height doesn't go up and then just gets administratively approved and everybody goes on. It's meant to be in there specifically for this project and to be over and above what's called for in the zoning ordinance in terms of approval. It normally wouldn't go to council, but some council people have requested that it does do that. So it would be an addition to your normal approval process on the MPD, the final plan and the MPD.
I don't feel comfortable deviating from that personally. I mean, that's just me.
Deviating from these recommendations.
Well, adding an additional requirement that they go before council again, but I think the level playing field for everyone. I don't think we've ever done that before. Personally, that's just my personal
I would
opinion.
agree.
Well, council will have the opportunity to put that into place in any case when it goes to
They can do
to them.
We've learned they can do whatever they want. So
Okay, anything else?
so on these, so this is just clearly between them and the developer, and we would stick to the
Yeah, I mean, my take is Historic Kansas City would very much like us to put these into our conditions today. I think it's great that they're working together with the developer, and I think that what the staff has put in terms of conditions is sufficient for me.
I agree. I mean, I think we always get a little nervous when we're trying to throw conditions in that didn't get brought to the staff before the staff report was made. So I would tend to agree if this is sufficient between an agreement between Historic KC and the developer, we're fine with that. We will move forward with the conditions that we have in the staff report stated.
With also the request to add the condition from my presentation that revised plans as discussed will be submitted prior to ordinance request.
Correct.
If you so choose.
Okay, take a motion, please.
Motion to approve docket item 9 with conditions, including the condition just as stated by Genevieve.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion, a second for approval of docket item number 9 with conditions stated, as well as amending to add the condition staff. So Lisa, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes. The Thank you for bringing the project in and good luck as you move forward with this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So here we are, our last docketed item, number 10, please.
Docket item number 10 is case number CPC 2022 00089. This is AT&T Building Residential Repurposing. This is a request to approve a development plan for the conversion of the former AT&T building into 263 residential units on about 1.31 acres located at 500 East 8th Street. Najma Mohammed is the staff planner.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, once again. Before us, we have docket item number 10, CDCPC 2022-89, located at 500 East 8th Street. If you drove in today or walked outside City Hall, you've likely seen this building before. The applicant is seeking approval of a development plan for the conversion of former offices to 263 residential units with underground parking. The former AT&T office building is surrounded by Admiral Boulevard, East 8th Street, Cherry Street, and Locust Street in all directions. So it's a street bounded building. The subject site is located downtown, not too far from City Hall. This is an overview of the landscaping that is currently there that they will use to meet staff requirements at this location. This is an elevation of the building showing that the multiple stories that will be converted into apartments and the 4 stories of parking that they will use to meet both bike and vehicular parking access. This is a utility cabinet on the top of the building that they have agreed to resurface with new paint as they update the interior and exterior of the building. Some of the key points, again, the exterior will remain the same. The applicant has assured me that though the recesses of the building may appear that there is not a light that comes into the building receives plenty of light, and I will hopefully follow up on a tour to see what that looks like. The inside will be again remodeled for 263 units, including studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments. Parking will be located underground. The current lighting on the exterior of the building will be updated for LED to LED lighting for energy efficiency. And again, the current landscaping requirements satisfy the landscape requirements required for this development. City staff recommends approval with conditions, and that concludes my staff report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. The applicant's available.
Mike, you need to accept the promotion.
We're still waiting on the applicant to accept the promotion.
Yes, and you seem to have disappeared altogether.
Didn't scare him away, did you?
I hope not. Okay, he's back
Perfect.
and he's been connected.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, can now.
All right, perfect. Sorry, it kicked me off when I raised my hand. I'm Mike Dinkins with Clockwork Architects. We're the applicant for this building. I also online, I have Charlotte Westerman, who's representing the developer. We're excited to present this to you guys today. As you heard, we're converting this old building as adaptive reuse from office use over to apartments. We have met with the Downtown Neighborhood Association and have their approval, as well as we had a meeting with the surrounding neighbors. Everyone is just curious on rental rates and everything, but is excited to see this building get developed into reuse for apartments. As you know, it's probably been vacant for 3 or 4 years with lots of different vandalism happening inside of it. So we're glad to take this over now and provide some more security to the area and get this development underway. I'd be glad to answer any questions anyone has. For this case, we actually are over parked, which probably never happens for development. So we're excited that we have overabundance of parking to provide for all the residents that will use this.
Okay.
So on that point, would the developer be interested or open to shared parking agreements with neighbors? If that's
Yes, that has come up in neighborhood meeting associations, that exact question, and they're open to having any discussion to get some shared parking program going.
I was curious, is this property going after historic tax credits? Is it?
It is. So we've gone through both SHPO and with NPS and have gotten their approval process for it. So yes, that's basically why the exterior has remained the same, because that is all being considered historic.
And is there any affordable housing units? If you could speak to the rental rates.
No, this will all be market rate units.
Just curious, what is the range you're looking at?
I don't have that info. I know they're pulling market studies right now, and it'll be comparable to some of the surrounding apartment complexes right there.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, so let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 10, please raise your hand through the Zoom feature. There's nobody in the chambers, by the way.
No one is raising their hand via Zoom.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add, applicant? You're okay with the conditions?
We're okay with the conditions, correct?
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close testimony then, and I'll take a motion unless we want to have a discussion.
A motion to approve docket item 10, subject to conditions.
second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 10 with conditions stated. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes for approval of docket item number 10. We appreciate you bringing it in and good luck as you move forward.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. So that concludes the docket items we have. Let's see, just a reminder that next meeting, I will not be here. Ashley will not be here. So hopefully Kakithia will be here to lead the charge. And do we have a special meeting coming up? We've thought about it, but that's in September, correct?
That's
September 13th.
September 13th. So I'll make sure you have your calendar marked for that. And I believe that's an update on the comp plan.
Set an hour? How long is that going to be?
Normal time,
Nine.
Mr. Allender.
Okay.
I would say at least an hour, probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
For that. So, okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate working with us as we do this as a hybrid. And again, we'll be getting more efficient as we move forward. We'll see you next time.